My mother's text came through at 8:43 on Thursday night, while I was kneeling on my basement floor trying to pull 2 folding serving stands out from behind a box of Christmas lights. "Don't forget these tomorrow," she wrote. Then another message appeared. "Also, can you stop at Costco after your treatment? Champagne, sandwich trays, fruit, ice, flowers, the square white plates, and Lacey's sparkling water. Not the lime one. I'll send the full list." I stared at the screen until it dimmed in my hand. Tomorrow's treatment was the one my oncologist had warned might hit me hardest. My mother knew that. My sister knew that. They also knew I had asked them not to schedule Lacey's bridal shower that day. 3 dots bounced beneath Mom's name. "Yeah, you'll probably be done by noon, right?" Upstairs, my dryer thumped unevenly because my good black pants were tangled around a fitted sheet. Beside my knee, one of the serving stands had caught on a strand of lights and dragged a glitter-covered wooden angel halfway out of the box. The angel's face was smiling. My phone buzzed again. "Bring both stands if you can. One looks silly." I sat back on my heels and wondered how sick I would have to become before my family stopped considering me the convenient one. The answer, I would eventually learn, was not cancer. But that Thursday night, I still thought there might be a reasonable explanation for everything. That was my particular weakness. I could find a reasonable explanation for someone standing on my foot as long as they looked tired enough. 6 months earlier, I had been standing barefoot in my kitchen when my doctor called. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because Tuesday was taco night at my parents' house, a tradition that had somehow survived all of us becoming adults and acquiring jobs, partners, dietary restrictions, and opinions about sodium. I had been slicing an avocado when my phone rang. By the time the doctor said the words, "invasive ductal carcinoma," I was still holding the knife. There are sentences that enter your life politely. They knock, wait for you to open the door, and take off their shoes. That sentence kicked the door off its hinges. I stared at the avocado. One half was bright green. The other had a brown bruise near the pit. My doctor kept talking about receptor status, imaging, referrals, and scheduling. I wrote everything on the back of a grocery receipt with a purple pen that barely worked. When we hung up, I stood there until the cut side of the avocado began to darken. Then my mother called. "Are you still bringing the cheese?" she asked. I almost laughed. Not because anything was funny. My body just made the sound. "What?" "The shredded cheese. Your father bought the block again. I told him we need shredded. We're not animals." "Mom." Something in my voice must have reached her because she stopped moving on the other end. I could hear cabinet doors and the television in my parents' living room. What happened? I got the biopsy results. Oh, that small word held a whole room of fear. "It's cancer," I said. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Mom whispered, "No." It was not denial exactly. It sounded more like she was correcting someone who had delivered the wrong entree. "No, honey, no." I put down the knife. She began crying hard enough that I had to comfort her before I had figured out how to comfort myself. That part felt familiar. Mom loved fiercely, but her emotions were like large dogs she had never trained. Once loose, they knocked over everyone nearby. "I'm okay," I told her. "You're not okay. I mean, I'm standing up, don't joke." I'm not sure that qualifies as a joke. She told me not to come to dinner. Then she told me she and Dad were coming over. Then she asked if I wanted her to tell Lacey, and I said no because Lacey was in Nashville for a friend's bachelorette weekend. That was how I received my diagnosis, barefoot, holding an underripe avocado, protecting my sister's good time. In fairness, Lacey called the moment she found out. She was sobbing before I said hello. "I'm leaving," she said. Behind her, women were shouting over music. "You're not leaving. Mara, you have cancer." "Yes, and unless you've secretly become an oncologist, I don't need you tonight. I can be there in 4 hours. You've been drinking. I'll get a car." "From Nashville?" She made a wet, furious sound. "Why are you being like this? Because I don't want you on the interstate drunk in a rented convertible. I'm not driving. You'll come home tomorrow. I'll still have cancer tomorrow. She did come home the next day. She brought me a pink sweatshirt that said, "Fight like a girl," 2 candles, a crystal meant to promote cellular healing, and a bag of sour candy she ate while explaining that sugar-fed cancer. That was Lacey. Her love arrived with confetti and no batteries. She was 4 years younger than me, 32 at the time, and had always moved through life with the conviction that enthusiasm counted as follow-through. Often, in our family, it did. Mom filled in the rest. When Mom couldn't, I did. Lacey worked in event marketing for a regional hotel group, which meant she could spend 3 weeks debating the emotional temperature of a linen color, but had once let her electricity get disconnected because she forgot to open her mail. She was bright, funny, affectionate, and exhausting. People met her and felt selected. She remembered the name of your dog, your favorite cocktail, and the story of your worst breakup. She did not remember that she had borrowed your dress or promised to take you to the airport. I loved her. That was not the problem. The problem was that I had spent most of my life translating loving her into making sure nothing bad happened when she disappointed people. 3 months after my diagnosis, Lacey got engaged. Evan proposed at the Botanical Gardens on a Wednesday evening under an arch covered in white roses. I knew about it in advance because Evan had called me to ask whether Lacey would hate a pear-shaped diamond. "Why would I know that?" I asked. "You know everything she hates. I know everything she complains about. That's a broader category." He laughed, then waited. "She'll love pear-shaped," I said. "As long as the band isn't yellow gold. It's yellow gold. Change the band." Evan was a civil engineer with gentle eyes and the posture of a man permanently apologizing for being tall. He loved Lacey in a steady, astonished way. He also gave in to her with such grace that it took a while to notice he was doing it. The night they got engaged, I had my 3rd infusion. I was at home in bed with a bowl on the floor beside me when my phone lit up with a video call. Lacey's face filled the screen, crying and laughing, her left hand shoved so close to the camera that the diamond became a bright blur. "He did it. I can see that. Are you okay? You look pale." "I'm white and receiving chemotherapy. There's only so much bronzer can accomplish." She lowered her voice. "Should I not tell you tonight?" The guilt in her face was so immediate that I pushed myself upright. "Don't be ridiculous. Show me the ring." She did, from 7 angles. Evan leaned into the frame, looking relieved when I told him the white gold band was perfect. Then Lacey cried again and said, "You have to be my maid of honor, obviously. There is literally no wedding without you." At that moment, I believed she meant there could be no wedding celebration without her sister beside her. Later, I understood she also meant there could be no wedding without someone competent holding the seams together. Planning began before my nausea eased. At first, I welcomed it. There are only so many hours a person can spend researching recurrent statistics before napkin colors become medicinal. Lacey sent me venue links during infusions. I built a spreadsheet because her spreadsheet had merged cells, 6 fonts, and a column labeled Vibe. "Vibe is important," she said. "Vibe is not a payment status. It can be both." Dad, who had retired from managing a hardware store and treated wedding costs like a personal attack, called the spreadsheet the first sensible thing anyone has done. Mom began referring vendors to me without asking. Soon I was confirming appointments, tracking deposits, and reminding Lacey that tasting cake did not count as booking cake. Nobody ordered me to do it. That was how these things worked. A loose end would appear in the room, and everyone would wait until I tied it. Still, there were moments when I felt held. Mom brought chicken soup after my 4th infusion, though she added enough noodles to absorb every drop of broth. Dad replaced the flickering light over my basement stairs without mentioning that I had asked him 3 times before I got sick. Lacey came over with nail polish and painted my toenails when I was too tired to sit up. She talked the entire time about bridesmaid dresses. Then she looked up and said, "I'm a terrible person. You're painting my toes. I've said the word wedding 47 times. 49. She rested her cheek against my knee. I hate that this is happening to you. Her voice cracked. I put my hand on her hair. I know. I keep thinking if I act normal, you'll stay normal. It was the most honest thing she had said since my diagnosis. For about 2 weeks afterward, she asked about treatment before discussing the wedding. By late September, Mom and Lacey were planning the bridal shower. They debated restaurants, garden patios, private rooms, and whether opening gifts in public was tacky now. I stayed out of it until Mom called one afternoon while I was waiting for blood work. "What dates absolutely don't work for you?" she asked. I could hear Lacey in the background saying, "Ask about the last 2 Fridays." I opened the calendar on my phone. Not October 27th. Why? My final AC infusion. Is that different from the others? It's the last of the aggressive combination before I switch medications. Dr. Shaw said the effects may stack. Mom went quiet. "Meaning?" she asked. "Meaning I might feel like I've been hit by a municipal bus. All right, not the 27th. Write it down. I am literally writing it down." Lacey took the phone. "We would never make you choose between treatment and my shower. I'm choosing treatment. You know what I mean?" "I do. I'm just making sure you know what I mean." She sent me 3 heart emojis after the call. 10 days later, my cousin Tessa texted me a screenshot of a cream and gold invitation. "Mara, is this date right? Lacey's bridal shower, Friday, October 27th, 2 o'clock, Diane and Paul Whitaker's home." I stared at it while an old cooking show played on my television. Someone was whisking egg whites and saying the bowl had to be perfectly clean or nothing would rise. My phone rang before I could decide whom to call. It was Lacey. "Okay," she said immediately. "Before you get mad, that's usually a strong opening. Evan's aunt can only come that weekend, and the restaurant wasn't available Saturday, and Mom said doing it at the house Friday saves almost $1,200. Friday, the 27th. I forgot it was that Friday. "You asked Mom to ask me." "I know, but I thought your treatment was in the morning." "It is." "So maybe you could come later? Just for gifts? You wouldn't have to do anything." I looked again at the invitation, at the gold script, at my mother's address. "You already sent these?" A pause. "Just electronically." "Lacey, I'm sorry, I am, but everything is impossible right now. I almost told her everything was impossible for me too. Instead, I said, I'll see how I feel." Relief rushed into her voice so fast it embarrassed both of us. That Thursday night, kneeling beside the Christmas decorations with Mom's grocery list glowing on my phone, I finally understood what Lacey had meant when she said I would not have to do anything. She meant anything visible, anything that might make the guests uncomfortable. The invisible work, apparently, was still mine. I pulled the second stand free, dislodging an artificial pine branch and 3 silver ornaments. One rolled across the concrete floor and stopped beneath the water heater. Then I carried both stands upstairs. That was how trained I was. I set them by the front door, leaned the grocery list against my purse, and went to rescue my pants from the dryer. Halfway there, my phone rang. "Mom, did you get the list?" "I got it." I wasn't sure if the champagne at Costco is any good, but Tessa says the Kirkland Prosecco is perfectly respectable. That sounds like Tessa. I don't want Evan's aunts thinking we're cheap. You're asking the woman with cancer to buy warehouse Prosecco. I think the ship of appearances has sailed. Mom made a small impatient noise. "Don't say it like that." "Like what?" "Like we're making you cater the shower. You're going to Costco anyway." "I'm not. You always go on Fridays." "Not after treatment. You went after the last one. I picked up a prescription. And you were fine." I folded my black pants on top of the dryer even though I needed to wear them in the morning. I threw up in the pharmacy parking lot. You never told me that. I didn't think I needed to file a report. There was a pause, and for one hopeful second, I thought the image might have reached her. Her daughter bent over beside a shopping cart corral, one hand braced against hot asphalt. Instead, she said, "Well, you should have told me." The blame was so neatly redirected that I almost admired it. "Mom, I'm not getting the groceries. Then why didn't you say that when I sent the list? I'm saying it now. The shower is tomorrow, I know. So is my infusion. Lower your voice. I had not raised it. Mom said that whenever someone used a tone, she could not turn into agreement. What exactly are you doing tomorrow? I asked. Excuse me. What are you doing before the shower? 100 things. I have to straighten the house, get myself ready, pick up the cake, meet the florist. Why can't the florist bring flowers? Because delivery was $75, and my chemotherapy errands are free. Oh, for heaven's sake, Mara. I asked you to stop at one store. You don't have to turn everything into a referendum on who loves whom. That sentence landed because I had not realized that was the referendum I was holding. I looked toward the front door. The serving stands stood side by side like two thin, white skeletons. Ask Lacey, I said. She has an appointment. For what? Her spray tan. I laughed once. Mom did not. She can't be running around afterward or it will streak. Of course. Don't be ugly. I'm not being ugly. I'm being impressed. That spray tan has better medical restrictions than I do. I don't know why you're determined to spoil this for her. I asked for one date. It was the only date that worked for everyone. No, it was the date that worked for everyone you counted. She inhaled sharply. Mom's anger always began with hurt, which made defending myself feel like striking first. Your sister has had a very stressful month. I know. The hotel changed her work schedule. The bridesmaid dresses came in the wrong shade, and Evan's mother has been questioning every decision. I thought you, of all people, would understand why she needs support. I understand she needs support. I don't understand why it has to come from the infusion center by way of Costco. If you can't do it, just say so. I did. Well, you don't have to be cruel about it. She hung up. I stood in the laundry room holding one pant leg. Then I refolded the pants badly this time. I did not sleep much. The steroids I had to take before treatment made my heart pound and my thoughts move in anxious little circles. At midnight, I decided I could order the groceries for pickup and give Mom the confirmation number. At 1, I remembered I would still have to pay. At 2, I pictured 40 women arriving to find no food because I had chosen that morning to develop principles. At 3, I opened the Costco app. The sandwich trays were unavailable for same-day pickup. The specific sparkling water Lacey liked came only in a mixed case with 2 flavors she disliked. I added champagne, fruit, plates, and cocktail napkins to the cart. The total climbed past $300 before flowers or ice. I closed the app. At 4, I opened it again. At 6:30, someone knocked on my front door. Simone stood on the porch wearing red glasses, a navy tracksuit, and an expression that suggested she had already argued with several people before sunrise and was prepared to continue. Why are there tiny tables blocking your door? They're serving stands. For what? I stepped aside. Lacey's bridal shower. Simone stared at me. Then she looked at the stands, then back at me. Today? Yes. Your sister's bridal shower is today? Yes. Today? I'm not sure a third kind exists. She picked up one stand and carried it back into the living room. What are you doing? Preventing a homicide at the infusion center. If I have to hear this story while looking at those, I'll kill someone with an IV pole. Simone and I had met 9 years earlier at an accounting firm where we had both been hired by a man who called women young lady regardless of age. She left after 2 years to manage operations for a dental group. I stayed and eventually became the person who fixed every report 5 minutes before a client meeting, because apparently I collected rolls. She had driven me to every treatment except one. Mom came to the first, where she spent 40 minutes asking the nurse whether my hair would definitely fall out, and then nearly fainted when the IV went in. Lacey came to the second, took 7 photos of us smiling beneath a warm blanket, and left before the drug started because she had a work emergency involving a branded cocktail menu. Simone brought crackers, ginger candies, 2 phone chargers, and gossip. She saw the grocery list beside my purse. What's that? Nothing. She picked it up. I let her read it because I no longer had the energy to protect my family from accurate information. Her eyebrows rose slowly. She sent you a grocery list. It's on the way home. No, it isn't. It sort of is. Nothing is on the way home from chemotherapy except home. She folded the paper in half, then folded it again. I told Mom no. Good, but I might stop for the champagne. Mara. Otherwise, there won't be enough. Enough champagne at the bridal shower you can't attend because it is happening during your cancer treatment? When you repeat things, you make them sound worse. I'm using the same words. I reached for my coat. My phone buzzed on the entry table. Lacey had sent a photograph of herself in a pale pink robe, one side of her body visibly darker than the other, tan developing. Do not judge yet. Beneath it, she had written, Mom says you're in a mood. Simone read over my shoulder. You know, she said, sometimes I worry I'm too judgmental. Then your relatives wake up. I typed, good luck today. I deleted it. I typed, I told Mom I'm not shopping after treatment. I deleted that too. In the end, I wrote nothing. At the clinic, the waiting room television was playing a home renovation show with captions. A cheerful couple stood in a ruined kitchen and reacted as though discovering mold behind a wall was an exciting twist written for their personal growth. I checked in, had my temperature taken, and followed a nurse named Beth to the infusion room. Beth had purple braids woven into a bun and remembered that I preferred the chair nearest the window. Last red devil, she said. Last one. You brought your driver? Simone lifted both hands. Licensed, insured, and bossy. My favorite kind, Beth said. The infusion room smelled like sanitizer, warm plastic, and the cinnamon gum an older man across from me was chewing. Recliners sat in 2 curved rows beneath windows washed gray by October clouds. Some people talked. Some slept. One woman knitted something mustard yellow while a machine clicked beside her. Beth accessed my port. I looked away, as always. The first medications made me drowsy. The steroids made my skin feel too tight. Then Beth returned wearing protective gear and carrying the syringes of red doxorubicin, bright as fruit punch. My phone began vibrating on the tray table. Mom. I declined the call. 30 seconds later, it vibrated again. Mom. Then Lacey. Then Mom. Simone turned my phone face down. Beth connected the first syringe and began pushing the drug slowly into my line. The phone shivered against the plastic tray. What if something happened? I asked. Simone glanced at the screen. Something did. No one bought the ice. I smiled despite myself. Turn it off, she said. I never turn it off. I know. What if Dad needs me? Your father is 68, not trapped in a well. The drug moved through the clear tubing toward my chest. My phone vibrated again, rattling against the tray. I thought of Mom in her kitchen, opening cabinets and counting plates. I thought of Lacey blotting excess spray tan from her wrists. I thought of the Costco cart on my screen at 3 a.m, filled with things for a party scheduled over the one thing I had asked them to protect. I picked up my phone. There were 9 unread messages. Mom had written, please call me. I need to know what the plan is. Lacey had written, did you take the stands? Then Mom again. The florist canceled. Can you grab 2 bouquets of white roses too? Nothing with lilies because they stain. I held down the button until the screen went black. The silence afterward was so small I almost missed it. There, Simone said. I expected guilt to rush in and occupy the space. Instead, Beth asked me to suck on an ice chip. The man across from me popped his gum, and rain began tapping lightly against the windows. The world continued with surprising competence. By the time we left, my legs felt hollow and my mouth tasted like I'd been licking coins. Simone buckled me into the passenger seat, tucked a blanket around my knees, and started the car. We reached the intersection where turning right would take us toward my house. Turning left would take us to Costco. I looked left. Simone did not ask. The light changed and she turned right. At home, she heated soup while I changed into soft pants and crawled beneath the blanket on my couch. My phone stayed off on the kitchen counter. At 2 o'clock, the bridal shower began without me. At 2:15, there was still no champagne, no sandwich tray, no fruit, no flowers, no ice, no square white plates, and no sparkling water in the flavor my sister considered drinkable. At 2:17, according to Tessa, my mother finally understood that I was not coming. She understood it in stages. First, she assumed I was running late. Then she assumed I had bought everything and sent Simone to deliver it. Then she assumed the groceries were in my car and became angry that I had not answered to tell her where I had parked. The possibility that I had done exactly what I said I would do did not occur to her until guests were already standing in the living room holding purses and complimenting the smell of the cake because there was nothing else to eat. I learned all this later. At the time, I was trying not to throw up on Simone. "Don't be noble," she said, holding a stainless steel mixing bowl beneath my chin. "I can wash a shirt. I like that shirt. It was $19. It's your color." Vomiting into the bowl is also my color. I managed to laugh, which became a dry heave. The soup had been a mistake. So had the ginger tea. Water tasted metallic. Crackers expanded in my mouth like insulation, and every smell seemed to have acquired a physical edge. Simone opened 2 windows, even though it was cold. Rain whispered against the screens, while I lay curled on my couch with a damp washcloth over my eyes. Someone knocked at the front door. Simone looked toward it. "If that is a person with a casserole, I'm going to marry them," she said. The knock came again. 3 careful taps, a pause, then 2 more. "That's Dad. You know his knock? He knocks like he's checking a wall for studs." She looked at me. "Do you want him in here?" I considered pretending I was asleep, but Dad would see Simone's car. Also, he had a key, though he treated using it as morally equivalent to burglary. "Let him in." Dad stood on the porch in khakis and a blue button-down shirt Mom had almost certainly selected. Rain dotted his shoulders. His gray hair had been combed while wet and was drying in narrow grooves. His eyes moved from Simone to me to the bowl on the floor. "Oh," he said. It was not a dramatic word. Dad did not produce dramatic words. He once described a tree falling through our garage as a complication. "Hi, Dad. I didn't know you were home. Where did you think I was?" He glanced toward the driveway as if Costco might be parked there. "Your mother said you weren't answering. My phone's off." So she said. Simone crossed her arms. How did she know it was off? I suppose it went straight to voicemail. He stayed on the doormat, holding his keys with both hands. "What do you need?" I asked. "Nothing. Dad, your mother thought maybe the serving stands were here. They are." His gaze shifted toward the living room. One stand leaned behind an armchair. Simone had put the other in the hallway. I waited. He looked at the bowl again. "She said you were feeling well enough last night to bring them upstairs." "That's the standard now?" "No. I'm only telling you what she said. You drove here to pick them up. I drove here to check on you. And while you were here, the stands might happen to get into your car." His mouth tightened. "Your mother has 40 people at the house. I have 4 chemotherapy drugs in me. I know that. Do you?" The question came out sharper than I intended. Dad looked at me for several seconds. He had pale blue eyes, the same as Lacey's, though hers made people say beautiful and his made people say honest. I had spent years mistaking quiet for neutrality. Quiet could take sides. It usually took the side requiring the least discomfort. He rubbed one thumb across his keyring. "I didn't know it made you this sick," he said. Simone made a sound in her throat. I closed my eyes. "I don't want to do this right now." "Do what?" "Explain my cancer well enough to earn the right not to carry furniture." His face changed. Dad was not cruel. That was part of what made him difficult to blame. Cruel people offer clean edges. Dad offered soft disappointments, reasonable requests, and a lifetime of standing just outside every argument until Mom won by endurance. "You don't have to explain anything," he said. "Good. I'll tell your mother you're resting. That would be accurate." He nodded, but he did not leave. "Are those the stands?" he asked, pointing toward the hallway. Simone stepped between him and the taller one. It would have been funny under different circumstances. She was 5'3". The stand came to her shoulder. Dad looked startled, as though furniture had appointed legal counsel. "They're staying," she said. "I wasn't taking them. Excellent. We agree." Dad gave me a helpless look. Normally, that look would have done it. Normally, I would have told Simone it was fine, apologized for her tone, and sent Dad away with both stands plus a list of things Mom might have forgotten. I pulled the washcloth back over my eyes. "Close the door on your way out, Dad." He left alone. At the shower, Tessa had arrived at 2:10 carrying a wrapped set of wine glasses and wearing green velvet pants that Mom later called inappropriate for daytime. Tessa was my second cousin by blood and my first cousin by family accounting. Her mother and mine had grown up together. She was 40, divorced, blunt, and considered slightly dangerous because she had once left Thanksgiving dinner after Mom told her she looked tired. According to Tessa, Mom intercepted her before she had removed her coat. "Did Mara send anything with you?" "Like what?" "The food." "What food?" That was when the first stage of understanding ended. At 2:18, Mom called me twice and Dad once. At 2:23, she asked Tessa whether she could run out for just a few things. Tessa looked around at the guests gathering near the gift table. Evan's mother, Carol, was arranging her face into the expression wealthy women use when they want to seem comfortable in someone else's disorder. Lacey stood by the fireplace in a cream dress, smiling too quickly, one forearm noticeably more orange than the other. "Where's the food you ordered?" Tessa asked. Mara was picking it up. "Today?" It was on her way. "From chemo?" Mom lowered her voice. She was supposed to be done by noon. Tessa stared at her. Mom hated being stared at. It made her fill silence with information. "She normally likes helping," she said. Unfortunately for Mom, Carol was standing close enough to hear. Carol did not confront her. She simply turned her head and looked at Lacey. That look, Tessa told me later, was the first moment the room changed. Tessa agreed to go shopping because 40 adults needed food and because she did not believe consequences should involve low blood sugar. She refused Mom's credit card after Mom said, "Just put it on yours and I'll get you later." "No, it'll take me 10 minutes to find my purse. I'll wait." Mara always. "I'm not Mara." Tessa stood by the front door until Mom retrieved her wallet from upstairs. There were no prepared sandwich trays left at the nearest store. Tessa bought sliced meat, rolls, cheese, grapes, 2 vegetable trays, 6 bottles of Prosecco, and paper plates decorated with pumpkins because the square white ones were sold out. She refused to drive to another store for Lacey's sparkling water. She returned at 3, when the shower had been underway for an hour. By then, guests had eaten most of the cake. The florist had not canceled, as Mom's text claimed. The florist had recorded the delivery date as Saturday, which Mom insisted was the florist's mistake, and the florist insisted was not. Mom cut hydrangeas from her own yard in the rain, shook them over the kitchen sink, and arranged them in 3 glass pitchers. One arrangement had a small spider in it. Carol found it crawling across the gift table and trapped it beneath an embossed cocktail napkin. I wish I had seen that. Not the confusion, not my sister's embarrassment. Just Carol holding down a spider with the word "Celebrate" printed in gold beneath her fingers. At 3:15, Lacey called my dark phone and left the first voicemail. At 3:21, she left another. At 3:40, Mom left one that began, "I hope you're satisfied," then stopped abruptly, as if even she could hear herself. I knew none of it. After Dad left, the medication pulled me into a heavy sleep. I dreamed I was grocery shopping in a hospital gown. Every aisle led back to produce. My mother stood behind a pyramid of oranges, asking why I had forgotten the ice. I woke after 6 with my wig crooked, my mouth dry, and a blanket tucked around my shoulders. The room was dim except for the lamp beside Simone. She sat in the armchair with her shoes off, scrolling through her phone. "What time is it?" 6:12. "You're still here. You say that like you left." My body felt made of wet sand. I pushed myself upright and immediately regretted it. Did Dad come? He did. I thought so. You were magnificent. I told him to close a door. Exactly. Growth. On the kitchen counter, my phone remained black. Simone followed my gaze. You don't have to turn it on tonight. What if something happened? Something did happen. You received chemotherapy. Everyone else attended a party. I swung my feet to the floor. What if Mom's worried? She sent your father. He saw you alive. What if they need Mara? There was no judgment in her voice this time. That made it worse. I pressed my palms together between my knees. My fingernails had started darkening near the beds, another side effect nobody showed in inspirational cancer commercials. I don't know how to not check, I said. Simone sat forward. Then check. Just don't confuse receiving a message with receiving an assignment. I waited until she left at 7:30. She stocked my nightstand with water, medication, crackers, tissues, lip balm, and the bowl. At the front door, she glanced at the serving stands. I'm taking these to my house. No. Why? Because they're mine. Then let them be yours here. She hugged me carefully, avoiding my port. After her taillights disappeared, the house became too quiet. Rainwater dripped from the gutter outside the kitchen window. I took my phone from the counter and held down the power button. The screen lit my face. 37 notifications appeared. The first voicemail was from Lacey. I pressed play. Mara, I don't understand what's happening, she said. Her voice was low and controlled, the voice she used when anger felt more dignified than panic. Mom is losing her mind. People are here, and there's literally nothing to serve except cake. If you didn't want to help, you could have just told us. I stopped the message. For several seconds, I listened to the rain. Then I played the second voicemail. This time, Lacey was crying. I hope making your point was worth humiliating me in front of Evan's whole family. I played it again because pain has a strange appetite for confirmation. I hope making your point was worth humiliating me in front of Evan's whole family. The second time, I heard details I had missed. Music in the background, a cabinet closing. My mother saying Lacey's name from farther away. Lacey taking a breath through her nose before she said humiliating, as if she had selected the word carefully. There was no mention of my treatment, not even as an accusation, not even, I hope you're actually sick. For one irrational second, that omission hurt more than everything else. I listened to Mom's voicemail next. Mara, I hope you're satisfied. Silence followed. Then a small click, not the call ending, but Mom moving the phone. I heard Dad say something too softly to understand. Mom came back louder. No, I'm not doing this now. Dad said, She had chemo, Diane. I know what she had. The voicemail ended. I sat in my dark kitchen with the phone pressed against my ear. 37 notifications looked dramatic, but 12 were from the bridal party group chat, 7 were automated pharmacy or clinic messages, and 4 were photographs people had posted from the shower. In one, Lacey stood beneath a gold balloon arch, holding a glass of Prosecco, smiling so brightly that only someone who knew her would notice the hard line beneath it. Tessa's pumpkin plates were stacked on a side table. Mom's hydrangeas looked surprisingly good. The shower had occurred. People had eaten. Gifts had been opened. No one had died from insufficient sparkling water. I opened my messages with Lacey. Her last text before the voicemails was still there. Mom says you're in a mood. I typed, I told her I wasn't getting the groceries. Then I stared at the sentence. It looked small and defensive, the kind of statement that invited a trial. I added, I was receiving chemotherapy. That looked theatrical, though it was literally what I had been doing. I deleted both. Instead, I turned off the phone again. The nausea woke me at 11, 2, and 4. By morning, my mouth was coated in a bitter film, and my bones felt as though someone had replaced the marrow with cold gravel. I made it from the bed to the bathroom by holding the wall. Hair had begun growing back in thin, colorless fuzz between treatments, but under the bathroom light, I looked less like myself than ever. My face was puffy from steroids. My eyebrows had thinned into doubtful commas. A faint red line crossed my chest near the port dressing. I brushed my teeth and vomited from the taste of toothpaste. At 9, the doorbell rang. I stayed on the bathroom floor. The bell rang again. Then came Dad's stud-finding knock. I considered crawling back to bed. Before I could move, I heard a key in the lock. Mom called, "Mara?" Of course she had brought Dad's key. Mom considered boundaries inefficient. She appeared in the hallway carrying a white bakery box. She wore jeans, loafers, and a camel-colored sweater with pearl buttons. Her makeup was done. Mine was sliding down my chin with sweat. She stopped. "Oh, honey." The softness in her voice nearly undid me. She set the cake box on the hall table and hurried into the bathroom. For half a second, I was 8 years old with the flu, and my mother was the person who knew where to put her hand on my forehead. Then she looked into the toilet. "Did you take the nausea medication?" "Yes." "When?" "Which time?" She crouched beside me, one knee cracking. "You should have called." I leaned my head against the cabinet. I was busy making a point. Her mouth tightened. There it was. The room rearranged itself around the argument. "I didn't come here to fight," she said. "You used a key. You weren't answering. I was asleep. I worried. About me?" The question escaped before I could make it less ugly. Mom stood too quickly and grabbed the edge of the sink. "That's unfair." "Probably. I have done nothing but worry about you for 6 months. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. "Can we not do this on the bathroom floor? I'm trying to help you. Then help me stand up." She did. She put one arm around my waist and took most of my weight, though she was smaller than I was. Mom had always been physically stronger than she looked. She could carry a 20-pound turkey in one hand while opening the oven with the other. The pearl buttons on her sweater pressed against my cheek as we moved down the hall. She settled me on the couch and covered me with the blanket Simone had left. Then she went into the kitchen without asking and began opening cabinets. "What are you doing?" "Making tea." "Please don't. Tea will settle your stomach. Tea made me throw up yesterday." "What kind?" "Ginger. Ginger is usually good for nausea. Cancer has failed to read the same articles you have." She closed the cabinet harder than necessary. I shut my eyes. A minute later, she returned with a glass of water. She placed it on the coffee table beside the bakery box. "I brought cake," she said. "I see that. It's lemon with raspberry filling. You always liked lemon. I still like lemon." "Good. I just can't eat it. I know that." She had not known it when she brought it, but correcting her seemed cruel. That was the trap with Mom. She could wound me badly enough that honesty felt like retaliation. She sat in the armchair Simone had occupied the night before. The serving stand behind it rose above her shoulder. Her eyes found it. "Your father said you were very sick. I was receiving chemotherapy. I understand that." "Do you?" She looked back at me. "Of course I do. What do I get?" What drugs do I get during treatment?" Her face changed. "Not much. I don't know the names. Doxorubicin and cyclophosphamide. Before that, they give me medication for nausea, steroids, and other things to keep me from reacting. The doxorubicin is red. Beth has to push it into the line by hand." Mom rubbed her palms over her knees. "You don't need to tell me this. I think I do. I know chemo is awful. How?" Her gaze moved toward the window. "I came with you. Once. I offered other times. You said clinics make you anxious. They do. So I stopped asking. That doesn't mean I didn't care." "No, it means I made caring about me easy for you." Mom flinched. I wished immediately that I had phrased it differently. Then I wondered why I was editing myself while she sat in my living room after assigning me groceries on treatment day. She folded her arms. "What happened yesterday was a misunderstanding. No, it wasn't. We thought you could stop at the store. You couldn't. Fine. But turning off your phone without telling anyone was unnecessary. I told you I wasn't going. You said you weren't getting the groceries. I didn't know you meant you were completely abandoning us." "Completely abandoning you?" "At least answer the phone. While they were putting chemotherapy into my chest? You make everything sound so dramatic." The sentence hung between us. Mom's face emptied as soon as she heard it. I looked at her. I make chemotherapy sound dramatic? That's not what I meant. What did you mean? You know perfectly well. I meant the way you describe things when you're angry. You choose the version that makes everyone else sound terrible. Tell me your version. She stood and began pacing the small stretch between the coffee table and the fireplace. My version is that your sister is getting married once. Her shower mattered to her. The date was not chosen to hurt you. We thought you would be finished by noon, and yes, I asked you to pick up some things because you have the membership and because you are normally willing to help. There were 40 guests, 36, Mom. Tessa bought too much. We have half of it left. That's what you came to tell me? I came to see how you are, with leftover cake. I thought you might like it. I can barely drink water. How was I supposed to know that? There it was again. I reached for the water. My hand shook badly enough that the glass knocked against the table. Mom moved to help, but I pulled it closer myself. You weren't, I said. She watched me take one small sip. You weren't supposed to know because I spent 6 months making sure you didn't have to. Every time you asked how I was, I said fine. Every time Lacey had something going on, I told you to go help her. When Dad needed his cardiology appointment scheduled, I did it from the waiting room. When you couldn't figure out the insurance form, I finished it with an ice pack on my chest. I kept showing up, so you decided showing up didn't cost me anything. Mom sat down again, slower this time. You never said you couldn't. I said not October 27th. That was the date that worked. For who? We have been through this. No, you explained logistics. You didn't answer me. She pressed her lips together. For Lacey, I said. It worked for Lacey. It worked for Evan's aunt. It worked for the restaurant until you moved it to your house. It worked for the florist, except apparently it didn't. It worked for everyone who counted. You count. Then why was I the only person expected to sacrifice something? Because we thought you could handle it. I laughed, but it came out broken. Mom leaned forward. That is not an insult, Mara. You have always been strong. You are organized. You don't fall apart every time life is difficult, like Lacey. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. This is exactly what I mean. You turn everything into a competition with your sister. I have never competed with Lacey. I have cleaned up after the competition was canceled, and she still got a trophy. Mom stood again. I will not sit here and listen to you attack her when she isn't present. She was present yesterday. I wasn't, because you chose not to be. I stared at her. She knew immediately she had gone too far. Her hands opened at her sides. Mara, I asked you not to schedule it then. I know. You wrote it down. I know. You did it anyway, and then you sent me a grocery list. Her eyes filled. Mom's tears had always been my emergency. My anger disappeared beneath them. My needs became too heavy to carry while also holding hers. This time, I watched them gather without moving. I'm sorry about the list, she whispered. It was the first apology anyone had offered. For 1 second, I wanted to take it. I wanted to let that small sentence seal the crack before the whole family split open around us. Then she added, but you could have handled this differently. I put down the water. My body had begun trembling under the blanket. The room tilted slightly, Mom's face moving in and out of focus. She continued talking. Lacey was devastated. Carol asked questions. People noticed you weren't there, and what was I supposed to say? The truth. That you refused to come? That I had chemotherapy? People know that, Mara. No, Mom. They know I have cancer. Apparently, no one knows what that means. I know what it means. Then tell me. She stopped. Tell me what yesterday was like for me. I wasn't there. Exactly. The word took nearly everything I had left. Mom's expression changed. For once, she did not have a defense ready. She looked at my shaking hands, the bowl on the floor, the untouched cake, and the thin hospital band I had forgotten to remove from my wrist. I wanted to finish. I wanted to tell her about the red medicine and the taste of coins, about waking every treatment morning afraid the blood work would be wrong and equally afraid it would be right. I wanted to tell her that sometimes I lay awake imagining my funeral and then hated myself for wondering whether Lacey would choose flattering flowers. But the room swayed again. "I need you to leave," I said. Mom blinked. "You shouldn't be alone. I'm calling Simone. I can stay." "No?" "Mara, please leave before I have to make you." She looked toward the cake box as if she had brought a peace offering and could not understand why the gods had rejected it. Then she picked up her purse. At the door, she paused beside the 2 serving stands. "I really am sorry," she said. I could not tell whether she meant the list, the date, the argument, or the fact that I had forced her to see me sick. She left without the stands. The cake remained unopened on my coffee table. By Sunday, the cake had moved from the coffee table to the kitchen counter, then into the refrigerator, still unopened. I could not throw it away. That would have felt childish. Eating it was impossible. Giving it back seemed like a declaration. So the cake sat between a carton of eggs and 3 bottles of electrolyte drink, acquiring the emotional authority of an unexploded device. Simona offered to dispose of it. "I can take it outside and shoot it," she said. "You don't own a gun. I know a dentist." Tessa arrived 20 minutes later carrying chicken broth, plain rice, and the expression of someone who had been promised a complete story. She placed the food on my counter, opened the refrigerator, and saw the box. "Is that the shower cake?" "Part of it." She shut the refrigerator. Bold choice. "I didn't ask for it." "Oh, I know. Your mother announced that she was bringing you some before she left." "Announced to whom?" "Anyone within hearing distance. It was framed as an act of mercy." I lowered myself into a kitchen chair. The worst of the nausea had passed, but standing still felt like being on a boat. Tessa sat across from me. Her green velvet pants were gone, replaced by black leggings and a sweatshirt from a marathon she had not run. "How much do you know?" she asked. "That you saved everyone from starvation with pumpkin plates. They were harvest-themed. There were pumpkins on them. There were also leaves." I smiled. It felt good. Then it felt disloyal, which was ridiculous. My family had not confiscated humor, though sometimes they acted as if laughter in the wrong place belonged to them. Tessa told me about the missing florist, the supermarket run, and the spider beneath the cocktail napkin. Her delivery was dry enough that I laughed until my ribs hurt. Then she told me what Mom had said. She normally likes helping. I stopped smiling. Tessa traced a scratch on my table with one fingernail. Carol heard. I gathered. She asked whether you were at treatment. What did Mom say? That you had finished already. Of course. Then Carol asked why you weren't resting. I looked toward the refrigerator. Tessa, did it seem like I did it on purpose? You did do it on purpose. I mean, did it seem like I wanted the shower to fail? No, it seemed like you didn't go shopping. That's not how Lacey sees it. Lacey sees a weather delay as targeted harassment. She said I humiliated her. Tessa leaned back. People were confused. Your mother was frantic. Lacey cried in the downstairs bathroom for 5 minutes, reapplied her lipstick, and came back out. Then she opened a countertop mixer from Carol and screamed like she'd been handed a kidney. That's cruel. It's observational. It can be both. Yes. Tessa held my gaze. Like your mother. The kitchen went quiet. Tessa and I were close in the way adults can be close after growing up in the same family, but not speaking for months at a time. She had history with Mom. Most people did. 3 Thanksgivings earlier, Mom had spent dinner asking whether Tessa was really happy living alone. Tessa had asked whether Mom was really happy discussing it. Dad dropped a spoon. I changed the subject to cranberry sauce. I should have defended you more, I said. At Thanksgiving? At all of them. You passed me the good pie after I came back. That isn't defense. No, it was pie. I'm serious. So am I. We take what we can get in this family. She looked at my bare head, and something softened in her face. But maybe we should stop, she said. My phone buzzed on the table. Lacey. The name appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Are you going to answer? Tessa asked. I don't know. Want me to leave? No. I answered on the 4th ring. "Hi." Lacey did not return the greeting. "Are you feeling better?" "A little." "Well, that's good." The stiffness in her voice made each word sound laminated. I waited. She sighed. "Mom said you threw her out. She used Dad's key to come in. That isn't what I asked. I didn't throw her. I asked her to leave. She was trying to apologize. She apologized for the list and then told me I handled it wrong. You did handle it wrong." Tessa stood and walked toward the living room, giving me privacy without pretending she wasn't listening. "I told Mom I wasn't shopping," I said. "You didn't tell me." "Mom did. She said you were being difficult. I thought you would still come. After treatment. You kept saying maybe, because I wanted to be there. Then why didn't you answer your phone?" The question was not curious. It was prosecutorial, because a nurse was pushing doxorubicin into my port. "I know you were at chemo, Mara. Do you? Oh my God, don't do that." "Do what?" "Make me sound like some monster who doesn't care that you're sick. I haven't called you anything. You don't have to. You're very good at that." I closed my eyes. There was a time when Lacey and I could argue without an audience, real or imagined. We fought over clothes, holidays, whose turn it was to call Dad, whether cilantro tasted like soap. But once Mom entered a conflict, we stopped talking to each other and began arguing our assigned roles. Lacey became fragile. I became cold. She cried. I explained. Mom decided the person with fewer visible emotions had caused the damage. "I'm not trying to make you a monster," I said. "I'm asking why my treatment was less important than your shower." "It wasn't. You scheduled them at the same time." "I forgot." "And after you remembered? The invitations were already out. You could have changed the date." "To when?" "I don't know. Any date when I wasn't being poisoned on purpose. You see? That. You say things like that so there's no possible response. It's called chemotherapy. I know what it's called. Then why are the words the problem?" She went silent. When she spoke again, her anger had thinned. "I wanted you there. I wanted to be there. It didn't feel like it." My eyes filled before I could stop them. I pressed my thumb and forefinger against the bridge of my nose. "I asked you not to choose that day. I know. You told me you wouldn't. I know. And somehow I'm still the one who has to prove I wanted to come." Lacey sniffed. For a few seconds, all I heard was her breathing. I pictured her in her apartment, probably sitting cross-legged on the gray sectional she had bought because it looked expensive and complained was uncomfortable. "I'm sorry I left that voicemail," she said. It was not the apology I needed, but it was more than she had offered before. "Which one?" "You know which one. You left two. The second one. The first one said I should have told you." "You should have." "Lacey." "Fine, both. I'm sorry for both. Thank you." Another pause. Then she said, "Did you happen to finish the welcome bag list?" I opened my eyes. Tessa stood in the doorway. Judging by her face, she had heard. "No," I said. "I only ask because Evan's parents need the count before they order the local coffee, and the hotel's being weird about room blocks. I'm not doing wedding work today. I don't mean today, just whenever you feel better. I'm not doing it." "Ever?" I'm giving the planning binder back. Her voice sharpened. "Why?" "Because I can't be your wedding coordinator while I'm in treatment." "You're not my coordinator. You're my maid of honor. Then why am I talking to the hotel about room blocks?" "You offered to help." "I know. So now you're punishing me." There it was. Any help freely given became a contract the moment I tried to stop. "I'm taking something off my plate," I said. "You say that like I put it there. You gave the hotel my phone number. Because you understand contracts. I'm an accountant, not an attorney. You understood it better than I did. That doesn't make it mine." She began crying quietly. Not the dramatic sobbing from Nashville. This was worse. Lacey's real tears made her sound younger, and my body reacted before my mind could intervene. "I'm not leaving you with nothing," I said. "The spreadsheet is updated. Deposits are marked. Vendor contacts are in the binder, so you've already decided." "I decided 5 seconds ago. Clearly you've been thinking about it." I had not. Until she asked about the welcome bags, I assumed I would recover for a few days and resume. The realization embarrassed me. I can't do this right now, I said. Neither can I. Then let's stop. You always get to stop. I almost laughed. Instead, I ended the call. My hand shook as I put down the phone. Tessa returned to the kitchen and sat without commenting. She slid the electrolyte drink toward me. She apologized, I said. She also asked for a spreadsheet. Both things can be true. Yes, that's what makes it hard. I know. The binder was upstairs in my office. I had built it for Lacey out of a thick ivory notebook with gold dividers. Ceremony, reception, attire, flowers, guests, payments, problems. The final tab was my addition. I asked Tessa to bring it down because the stairs felt impossible. She returned holding it against her chest. This weighs more than your sister. Emotionally or physically? Physically. Emotionally, they're close. I opened the binder on the table. Inside were fabric swatches, menus, contracts, handwritten notes, and the spreadsheet Dad had called sensible. My handwriting appeared on nearly every page. Call Baker. Confirm chairs. Ask Lacey. Remind Lacey. Fix this. Pay by Friday. A pink sticky note clung to the welcome bag section. Mara will handle. I did not remember writing it. I peeled it from the page and stuck it to the table. Tessa watched me. What are you going to do? I'm going to give this back. Today? No. If I go over there now, Mom will turn it into a summit meeting. Good call. I closed the binder. My phone buzzed again, this time with an email notification. The subject line read, Urgent Final Venue Payment. It was addressed to Lacey. I had been copied first, Mom second, Evan third. Before I could stop myself, I opened it. The final deposit was due Tuesday. The attached invoice did not match the amount in my spreadsheet. I found the discrepancy within 30 seconds. Then I sat there, looking at it. This was the part no one understood. I liked solving things. Disorder bothered me physically. A wrong number on an invoice pulled at my attention the way a crooked frame pulled at Mom's. My usefulness was not entirely something my family had forced on me. They had built their expectations around a door I kept opening. I forwarded the message to Lacey and Evan. The invoice is $650 higher than the contracted amount. Ask them to remove the unapproved chair upgrade before paying. My cursor hovered over a second sentence. I am stepping away from wedding administration. Please remove me as the primary contact. I added it and pressed send. The reply came from Evan 6 minutes later. Understood. I'll handle it. Thank you for catching this, and I'm sorry you had to. Lacey did not reply. Mom called twice. I let it ring. On Monday morning, Dad left a container of beef stew on my porch. He did not knock. He texted from the driveway. Made without wine. Your mother says wine is bad during treatment. Don't know if that's true. I looked through the front window. He sat behind the wheel of his truck, pretending to study something on the dashboard. Thank you, I wrote. He drove away before I opened the door. Mom called once that afternoon and did not leave a message. Lacey sent no texts at all. Their silence should have been restful. Instead, it felt like waiting outside a room where people were discussing me. By Wednesday, I could stand long enough to shower. My mouth had developed sores along the inside of my lower lip, and coffee tasted like burnt pennies, but the floor had stopped moving. I put on my wig, carried the wedding binder downstairs, and placed it beside my purse. The pink sticky note was still attached to the kitchen table. Mara will handle. I folded it in half and put it in my wallet. I told myself this was evidence. Of what, I could not have said. At 11, Evan texted. Can I pick up the binder tonight? I promise not to discuss anything unless you want to. That message told me Lacey had discussed plenty. I wrote, I can bring it after work. You don't need to. I need groceries anyway, I replied. It was not entirely true. I needed milk. I could have lived without milk. But if Evan came to my house, Lacey could describe the binder as something taken from her. If I carried it to their apartment and placed it in her hands, even my mother would have trouble converting the event into theft. Lacey and Evan lived in a renovated warehouse building on the east side. the kind of place where the exposed pipes were painted black so tenants would understand they were intentional. I arrived at 6, carrying the binder and a paper bag filled with miscellaneous wedding things, invitation samples, 2 ribbon spools, the cake server Mom ordered to my address, and a packet of gold wax seals that had looked better online. Evan opened the door before I knocked. He wore gray sweatpants and an old college shirt. His expression moved quickly from relief to concern. "You drove?" "I've been cleared to operate light machinery." "I could have come." "So you said." He took the bag but left the binder in my arms, as if it might count as a weapon. Lacey stood at the kitchen island slicing a lime. She had changed into leggings and an oversized cream sweater after work. Her engagement ring flashed each time the knife came down. 2 cocktail glasses sat on the counter, one with ice and one without. "Hi," she said. "Hi." I placed the binder on the island. She looked at it but did not touch it. "You didn't have to bring it tonight. Evan asked for it. I said he could pick it up. Then this saved him a trip. You shouldn't be driving if you're dizzy." "I'm not dizzy." "How would I know?" The question had enough truth in it to stop me. "You could ask," I said. "I did ask, you hung up. After you asked about welcome bags." She pressed the lime into her glass. Evan set the paper bag beside the binder. "I'm going to order dinner. Mara, do you want anything?" "No, thank you." "Soup? Rice?" "I'm okay." Lacey laughed without humor. "You're always okay." I didn't say I was okay. I said, "I don't want dinner." Evan looked at the ceiling. "I'll be in the other room," he said. "No," Lacey said. "Stay. You're part of this." He remained beside the island, though his body seemed committed to leaving. I opened the binder. Everything is current through Sunday. The venue removed the chair upgrade, so the corrected deposit was due yesterday. "I paid it," Evan said. "Good. The photographer needs the final timeline by December 1st. The florist proposal is under flowers, but don't sign it until they remove the extra boutonniere. They counted your grandfather twice." "My grandfather is dead," Lacey said. "Then definitely remove it." Evan made a choking sound that might have been a laugh. Lacey looked at him, and he rubbed his mouth. I continued. "The hotel has 32 rooms held. 10 are booked. The block releases next month." "Okay," Lacey said. "The rehearsal dinner isn't in here because Carol said she was handling it." "She is, and these are the things delivered to my house." I slid the bag toward her. Lacey touched one ribbon spool. "You made your point. I'm returning your belongings. You brought the wax seals. They're yours. You could have kept them." "What would I do with 80 gold wax seals?" She looked down. On the living room wall behind her, an engagement photograph showed her laughing against Evan's chest beneath the rose arch. She looked happy in a way that made my anger feel intrusive. I closed the binder. "There's one more thing." Lacey's shoulders rose. I went through my credit card statement. Oh my God, I paid $1,248 in wedding expenses. "I know. I told you we'd pay you." "When?" "After the wedding. That's 4 months from now. You said it was fine." "I said it was fine when it was a few samples in the invitation deposit. It kept growing." Evan frowned. 1,200. 48, I said. He looked at Lacey. She put down the knife. "Some of that was your maid of honor stuff. 200 is my dress deposit." I excluded that. "I also excluded your engagement gift and the earrings I'm lending you. What's left?" "Invitation deposit, postage, cake booking fee, welcome bag samples, and your alterations deposit." I thought Mom paid the alterations. Her card was declined. Lacey's face reddened. "Why are you announcing that? Because you asked." "I meant, why are you bringing this up in front of Evan? He's marrying you." "I know that, Mara. Then he should probably know about wedding expenses." Evan held up one hand. "She's right." Lacey turned on him. "Please don't. She shouldn't be carrying $1,200 for us. We're going to pay her." "When?" "After the wedding." The force of her voice startled all 3 of us. I had not come to humiliate her. I had come with an itemized list because numbers felt neutral. Standing there, I understood that neutrality could still cut. Lacey had spent months trying to appear effortlessly prepared in front of Evan's family. I had just opened a drawer she wanted closed. "I don't need it tonight," I said. "I need a plan." "We can pay you Friday," Evan said. Lacey stared at him. "What?" he asked. "We have the caterer payment. We'll use savings. We agreed not to touch that. We also agreed we weren't borrowing from family for the wedding." "I didn't borrow it," she offered. "I offered to put down the invitation deposit because you were on the phone with the printer and your card was in the car," I said. "That is not the same as financing the next 5 things. You never complained. I am now. You waited until after the shower so it would feel like punishment. I waited until after the shower because that's when I realized there would always be another thing." Lacey folded her arms tightly. "What happened to you?" she asked. I almost answered cancer. That would have been easy and cruel, so I did not. "I got tired. We're all tired, I know." "No, you don't. You think because you're sick, nobody else gets to have problems." Evan said her name quietly. She closed her eyes. The apartment seemed to shrink around us. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere above, a dog barked twice. Lacey opened her eyes again, shining now. "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it?" "I mean, every conversation goes back to treatment. Every decision has to go around your appointments. Mom is scared all the time. Dad won't talk about it. I'm trying to plan a wedding while everybody acts like being happy is offensive." I held the edge of the island. There it was, the thing beneath the shower and the date and the grocery list. My illness had entered the year she had imagined belonging to her. "I never asked you not to be happy. You don't have to ask. I feel guilty every time I talk about the wedding. I helped you plan it during infusions. I know, I watched your engagement video while throwing up. I know." Her voice cracked. Evan took one step toward her, but she moved away. "I know," she repeated. "That's what makes it worse. You do all these things nobody asked you to do, and then suddenly there's a bill." The words struck harder than I expected, because they were not entirely false. I looked at the binder, at my notes filling every section. "You're right," I said. Lacey blinked. "I do that. I offer before anyone can ask. I fix things before anyone sees they're broken, and then I get angry that nobody appreciates what they never noticed. That's not what it's what you said. I wasn't saying this is your fault." "Yes, you were. A little." She wiped beneath one eye. "Maybe a little. And maybe a little of it is." Evan leaned his palms on the counter. "Can we agree that Mara shouldn't be paying our bills?" "Yes," Lacey said. "Obviously." He looked at me. "I'll transfer the money Friday." "Thank you." "You don't have to make a production out of paying her," Lacey said. "I'm not. I'm talking to her." "I know. That's the problem." The room went still. Lacey stared at him. "Excuse me?" Evan exhaled. "I mean, you're talking to her like this is an argument you have to win. You were not at the shower." Neither was she. That's the entire issue. She was at chemotherapy. Lacey flinched as though he had raised his voice. He had not. I picked up my purse. "I should go." "Mara, wait," she said. "I'm tired. We're not done. I am." Her face changed at that. Confusion first, then anger, then fear. "You don't get to walk in here, drop everything on us, ask for money, and leave. I drove here to give you the binder you asked for. You're stepping down as maid of honor?" I said, "I'm stepping away from administration." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm your sister. I'll listen when you want to talk. I'll attend what I physically can. I will not manage your vendors, pay expenses, or be the person everyone calls when something goes wrong. So you still want to be maid of honor?" I hesitated. Yes. The relief on her face came too fast. "Okay," she said. "Okay, that's all I needed to know." It was not all she needed. We both knew that. I left before either of us could say more. In the parking lot, I sat behind the wheel with the engine off, waiting for my hands to stop shaking. My phone rang. Dad. I answered because I was too tired not to. "Your mother says you're tearing the family apart over a party," he said. I looked up at Lacey's lit apartment windows. "Do you believe her?" He was quiet. Then he said, I believe everybody needs to calm down and keep the peace. Whose peace, Dad? What? Because the peace you're talking about has always depended on me not saying when something hurts. That's not fair. It's still true. He sighed. Your mother has been crying for 3 days. I've been throwing up for 3 days. That's different. I know. Nobody expects her to do it quietly. He did not answer. I started the car. Good night, Dad. Mara. What? His voice softened. Do you have another appointment this week? Blood work Friday. Do you have a ride? I can drive myself. That wasn't what I asked. I gripped the steering wheel. No, I said. I don't have a ride. I'll pick you up at 8. Then he hung up before I could rescue either of us from the offer. Dad arrived at 7:42. I watched his truck pull into my driveway while I was still upstairs trying to draw on my left eyebrow. The right one looked reasonable. The left had taken a sharp turn upward, giving me the expression of a woman who had just heard an interesting rumor. He knocked at 8 exactly. You've been out there 18 minutes, I said when I opened the door. I was early. You could have come in. You might not have been ready. You used to wake me for work by running the vacuum into my bedroom door. That was your mother. You participated through silence. He looked at my eyebrows. I put on my coat. Don't. I didn't say anything. Your face did. Your face looks fine. Now I know you're lying. He carried my bag to the truck without asking. Dad's acts of care had always been disguised as practical efficiency. He would never say he was worried about me driving. He would say there was construction near the clinic and he knew a better route. The passenger seat had been cleared of work gloves, receipts, and a box containing a new faucet. A travel mug waited in the cup holder. Coffee? I asked. Hot water with lemon. Your mother said coffee tastes bad to you now. I climbed in carefully. She remembered. She remembers more than you think. Let's not do that before sunrise. It's 8 in the morning. The son and I are no longer on speaking terms. He started the truck. For most of the drive, we discussed road construction. Dad explained why the city had sequenced the traffic lights incorrectly. I agreed at appropriate intervals. It was the kind of conversation we could have had before cancer, before the shower, before the family began tripping over truths it had stored in dark hallways. At the clinic, he followed me to the laboratory. You don't have to come back, I said. I know, it's just blood work. I know. You can wait downstairs. Do you want me to? The question surprised me. No, I said. You can come. A technician named Carla led us into a small room with a reclining chair. Dad sat against the wall, hands on his knees. When Carla asked whether we were drawing from my arm or port, he looked at me. Port, I said. She brought out a sterile kit. Dad's eyes fixed on the tray. Does that hurt? Less than getting stabbed in the arm every week. Carla smiled. That's our official slogan. When I unbuttoned the top of my blouse and moved the fabric aside, Dad saw the raised circle beneath my skin. His face went blank. The port was not dramatic. It looked like a hard coin under the flesh near my collarbone. A thin scar curved above it. I'd stopped noticing it unless a seatbelt rubbed the wrong way. Dad leaned forward. They put that inside you? Yes. When? July. Was that surgery? Technically. Who brought you? Simone. His mouth closed. Carla cleaned the skin and inserted the needle. Dad watched the blood fill 2 lavender tubes and 1 gold one. Do they use that for all the medicine? He asked. Most of it. And the red drug? Yes. He nodded once. Back in the hall, he stopped beside a framed print of a sailboat. I should have come, he said. To the port placement? To something? You did come today. That isn't what I mean. A nurse maneuvering a supply cart approached, so we moved to one side. Dad studied the sailboat until she passed. Your mother told me you didn't want a lot of people around, he said. That was true. I took it to mean you didn't need anyone. That was also convenient. He winced, but did not defend himself. We waited an hour for my oncologist to review the results. I had not expected Dad to stay. Every time I suggested he could leave, he picked up an outdated fishing magazine and said, "I'm fine." Dr. Shaw finally called us into an exam room. She was a compact woman with silver hair cut to her jaw and a habit of making eye contact before delivering information, even ordinary information. My blood counts were low but acceptable. The next phase of treatment would begin the following week. "We're moving to weekly paclitaxel," she said. "Different rhythm, different side effect profile." Dad sat straighter. "Different how?" Dr. Shaw glanced at me, asking permission without words. He can hear. She explained neuropathy, fatigue, nail changes, possible reactions, and the schedule. Dad took a pen from his shirt pocket and wrote on the back of a hardware store receipt. For a second, I was back in my kitchen with the avocado and the purple pen. "Is she going to be this sick every week?" he asked. "Not necessarily in the same way," Dr. Shaw said. "Many patients find this portion more manageable, but cumulative fatigue can be significant." What should she not be doing? I looked at him. Dr. Shaw did too. She should listen to her body, rest when she needs to, avoid exposure to illness, stay hydrated, call us for fever, and accept practical help. Dad underlined something. "She does too much," he said. "Dad." "You do." Dr. Shaw smiled slightly. "That is not an uncommon family diagnosis." In the truck afterward, Dad did not start the engine. He looked through his notes. "What's neuropathy?" She just explained it. "I know. I want to know what it feels like. I don't have it yet." What would it feel like? Pins and needles, numbness, maybe pain. In your hands and feet. He stared at his own hands. "Can it stay? Sometimes? And you've known all this?" "Yes." "You never said." I turned toward the passenger window. "I'm getting tired of hearing that. I'm not blaming you. It sounds like blame. I'm saying I didn't ask." The truck went quiet. He folded the receipt carefully and placed it in his wallet. On the way home, he stopped at a diner without consulting me. I objected until he explained he had called ahead and ordered plain toast. "You called from where?" "The hallway when you were in the bathroom. You ordered toast by telephone? And scrambled eggs. I can't eat eggs. Then I'll eat them." He did. We sat in a booth near the window. Dad buttered his eggs by mistake because the server put the butter beside his plate, and Dad applied condiments according to proximity. When I pointed it out, he ate them anyway. "They're richer," he said. "They're glistening. French people probably do this. French people would ask you to leave." My phone chimed. A bank notification showed that Evan had transferred $1,248. The note read, "Wedding reimbursement." Dad saw my expression. "Everything okay?" "They paid me." "For what?" I hesitated, then explained. His forehead creased. "I thought we were paying for the wedding. You and Mom are paying for most of it. Then why did you have $1,200 on your card?" "Little things." "That isn't little. It becomes little when you divide it into 6 emergencies." He set down his fork. "Did your mother know?" "About some. I'll talk to her." "Please don't. Mara, I don't need another person explaining me to Mom. I need her to hear me when I explain myself." He rubbed his thumb over the edge of the table. "That's fair." The answer came so simply that I almost distrusted it. When he dropped me off, Dad carried my bag inside. He paused in the living room beside the serving stands. "Want me to put these back in the basement?" "Yes." He took both at once. Normally, I would have warned him they might scratch the wall, followed him downstairs, rearranged the storage area, and explained exactly where they belonged. Instead, I sat on the couch and listened to him bump into the door frame. "You okay?" I called. "Fine." A moment later, something metallic clattered. "Still fine?" "Completely." He came upstairs with glitter on one shoulder and the wooden angel tucked beneath his arm. "This fell out. She's seasonal. She was under the water heater. She's had a hard year." He placed the angel on my mantel, looked at it, and adjusted it until it faced the room. "I can drive you next week," he said. "You don't have to." "I know. Simone usually does." "Ask her if she wants a week off." I wanted to say yes immediately. I also wanted to refuse because accepting would make me responsible for his guilt, and I was trying to resign from invisible jobs. "I'll ask," I said. That's all. He left. Mom called that evening. I had not spoken to her since the cake. I almost let it ring, then remembered Simone's rule. Receiving a message was not receiving an assignment. "Hello? Your father said the blood work was all right. It was acceptable. What does that mean?" "My counts are low, but treatment can continue." "Good." She sounded relieved and resentful of her own relief. "I'm glad," she added. "Thank you." A silence opened. Then she said, "I need to ask you something." My whole body braced. "My dental procedure got moved to Tuesday," she said. "Your father has that cardiology appointment, and I won't be allowed to drive home." "What time?" 10:30. It should only take an hour. I know Tuesday is normally your work-from-home day." It was. Mom had driven me home after dental surgery twice, made mashed potatoes, and called every 4 hours to make sure I had taken antibiotics. The old obligation rose so quickly it almost reached my mouth before thought did. Then I pictured the Costco list. "Ask Lacey." Mom did not respond. "She works Tuesdays," she said finally. "So do I. You work from home. I work at home. Lacey has meetings. So do I. This is different." "How?" Another silence. I could hear her deciding which argument would sound least like the truth. "You're more dependable," she said. There it was, not kinder, not closer, not the daughter she wanted beside her when she was frightened. Dependable. "I'm not available," I said. "Mara, ask Lacey. She'll have to move things." "Yes." Mom's voice cooled. "Fine." I waited for the accusation, but she ended the call. On Tuesday afternoon, Lacey sent me a photograph from Mom's driveway. Mom sat in the passenger seat behind her, one cheek swollen, glaring at the camera. "Your favorite patient survived," Lacey wrote. A second message followed. I had to move 3 meetings. I typed, "Thank you for taking her." Lacey replied with a thumbs up. It was not peace, but for the first time I could remember my mother needed something. I said no, and the need did not become a disaster. It became my sister's Tuesday. Lacey's Tuesday did not improve her mood. For the next week, every message she sent included a detail about the inconvenience. Mom refused to keep the gauze in her mouth. Mom tried to drink coffee while still numb. Mom made me stop at 2 pharmacies because the first one was too crowded. I answered each message with some version of that. Sounds difficult. It was less satisfying than apologizing, but also less expensive. Dad drove me to my first paclitaxel infusion. He arrived with the hardware store receipt still in his wallet and a legal pad on which he had written paclitaxel questions in block letters. The first question was, "Can she eat grapefruit?" "Why grapefruit?" I asked. "Your mother said it interferes with medication." "I don't eat grapefruit. That doesn't answer the question." Beth answered it for him while preparing the pre-medications. Grapefruit was not the immediate concern. Allergic reactions were. Dad looked toward the IV pole. "What kind of allergic reaction?" "The reason we start slowly is so we can monitor," Beth said. "What are we monitoring for?" "Dad, I'm asking her." Beth, who had met more frightened fathers than I had, explained calmly. "Flushing, trouble breathing, chest tightness, changes in blood pressure." Dad wrote all 4 down. During the first 15 minutes of the infusion, he watched my face so intensely that I finally turned toward him. "If I stop breathing, someone will mention it." "I know. Your staring is making me consider doing it recreationally." Beth laughed from her station. Dad did not, but he looked at his magazine. Nothing dramatic happened. I felt warm, then sleepy. By the time the infusion ended, Dad had read the same page about striped base for nearly 2 hours. In the truck, he handed me a plastic container. "What's this?" "Your mother made rice." I looked at him. "She didn't ask me to say anything, but she knows you brought it." "Yes." "Did she tell you to bring it?" "She put it in my hand." That was Mom's version of respecting distance. She would not call, apologize, or risk hearing no. She would send carbohydrates through Dad. I accepted the rice. Tell her thank you. You could text her. I could. He nodded. I'll tell her. The paclitaxel was easier on my stomach and stranger everywhere else. 2 days later, the tips of my fingers began tingling as if I had slept on both hands. Food tasted almost normal, but my legs felt heavy by late afternoon. I could work for several hours before my concentration dissolved. The wedding emails decreased because Evan removed me from the vendor chains. At first, the quiet felt luxurious. Then I caught myself opening the binder spreadsheet from my personal files, checking dates no longer assigned to me. I deleted the shortcut from my desktop. I did not delete the file. On Saturday, Lacey showed up with soup. She stood on my porch holding a stock pot in both hands, her hair pulled into a loose knot and no makeup except mascara. She looked tired enough that my first instinct was to take the pot from her. I kept my hands at my sides. "Can I come in?" she asked. "Is that soup for me or evidence in a future argument?" The corner of her mouth moved. Both? Honest. She came inside. The wooden angel still stood on my mantel. Lacey noticed it immediately. "Why is Gloria out?" "You named her?" "When I was 9. She's been in a box for 23 years. Her name is still Gloria." She set the soup on the stove, opened the wrong cabinet for bowls, and then opened 2 more. Lacey had been in my kitchen hundreds of times. She could locate wine glasses in the dark, but apparently believed soup bowls migrated. "Left of the sink," I said. "I knew that. You were looking above the refrigerator." I was assessing. The soup was chicken and rice, clearly made with Mom's recipe, but not by Mom. The carrots were uneven, and one piece of celery was almost 3 inches long. "You cooked?" I asked. "Don't sound alarmed. I'm adjusting my insurance." She put a bowl in front of me. I tasted it carefully. It needed salt, but my mouth could tolerate it. "It's good." "No, it isn't. It's warm." "That is not the same compliment." "It's very warm." She laughed. For 10 minutes, we discussed nothing dangerous. Her office had ordered new desks that were too tall. Evan had become obsessed with a documentary about competitive cheesemakers. Mom's cheek was no longer swollen, though she had told 8 people the dentist nearly broke her jaw. Then Lacey saw me flexing my fingers. "What's wrong with your hands?" "Neuropathy." Her expression sharpened. "What does that mean?" I told her. "Is it permanent?" "Maybe." "Probably not. We're monitoring it." She stared at my fingertips. "Does it hurt?" "Not yet. Can I do anything?" The question was so direct that I did not know how to answer. "You made soup. I mean something real. This is real." She looked unconvinced. "You could call before treatment next week," I said. "Not during, before." "Okay. And ask how I am before telling me about chair covers. We're not doing chair covers. Then we're already making progress." She tore a piece from the end of the bread she had brought and ate it standing at the counter. "Evan thinks I'm selfish," she said. There it was. "He said that?" "Not exactly." "What exactly?" "He said, I'm treating you like your illness is something you scheduled to inconvenience me." I took another spoonful of soup. "That's specific. He's had time to rehearse. Maybe he's been watching cheese documentaries for rhetorical technique." She did not smile. "Carol is upset, too." "About the shower?" "She keeps asking about you." "That sounds kind." "It is kind. It's also pointed." "How?" "She asks how your treatment went before she asks anything about the wedding. Every time." I put down my spoon. "Maybe she wants to know. She barely knows you. Then maybe she's trying." "You don't hear the tone." "What tone?" "The tone that says she knows what happened and thinks I'm a terrible sister." "Do you want me to tell her you're not?" "I want you to acknowledge that I'm being punished for one mistake." "It wasn't one mistake." She pulled the bread apart with both hands. "Fine. A series of mistakes related to one date." "Lacey." "I'm trying, Mara. I came here. I made soup. I moved meetings for Mom. I've taken over the vendors." I apologized. "For the voicemails. I'm sorry about the date, too." The words came out quickly, almost angrily. I waited. She looked at me. What? Nothing. You always do that. Do what? Wait for the better version. I leaned back in my chair. She was right. Again. Thank you for apologizing, I said. You don't forgive me. I don't know yet. Her eyes filled, but she blinked hard and looked away. How long am I going to be the bad person? This isn't a sentence I'm serving you. It feels like one. Maybe because I normally make the consequences disappear. What consequences? The shower happened. It was fine. Then what are you being punished for? She opened her mouth and stopped. I picked up my spoon. I'm not telling Evan or Carol what to think. I haven't told anyone what to think. Tessa told people. Tessa told me. She told her mother, who told Aunt Sheila, who called Mom. Our family can move information faster than emergency radio. It's not funny. This has cast a shadow over my entire engagement. The spoon stopped halfway to my mouth. Lacey heard herself. Her face tightened. I mean the conflict, she said. Not your cancer. I know what you meant. No, you're doing it again. You're taking the worst possible version. I'm taking the version where your engagement has a shadow because I didn't buy champagne after chemotherapy. That is not what I said. It's where the shadow started. The shadow started when you got sick. Silence filled the kitchen. Lacey put down the bread. Her face had gone pale except for 2 red patches high on her cheeks. I didn't mean that either. Yes, you did. I meant everyone changed. Because I got cancer. Yes. And that was hard for you. Yes. She pressed the heels of her hands to her eyes. I'm not saying it was harder for me. You keep explaining that, which is interesting. Can you stop being an accountant for 1 minute? I'm not calculating anything. You are. You're sitting there keeping score of every stupid thing I say. I don't have to keep score. You say them out loud. She pushed away from the counter. I should go. Part of me wanted to let her. The stronger part, the older sister who knew exactly how Lacey's face looked before she fled a room and turned pain into certainty, stood up. My legs wobbled. Lacey moved toward me automatically. Sit down. I'm fine. You're swaying. I said, sit down. She snapped. The command was so much like Mom that we both froze. Then I sat. Lacey pulled out the chair across from me. I'm scared, she said. It was barely audible. Of what? You dying. The kitchen seemed to lose all its sharp edges. I'm not dying. You don't know that. No, I don't. Tears spilled down her face. I'm planning centerpieces, she said, and then I picture your funeral. I try to come to treatment and I can't breathe in the parking lot. So I go do something for the wedding because there are lists and dates and things I can control. Then I hate myself because you're the one actually doing it. I reached across the table. She took my hand carefully as if neuropathy made me breakable. You could have told me, I said. You're the sick one. I'm not supposed to need comfort from you. No, you're not supposed to make me manage your fear. That doesn't mean you can't have it. What's the difference? I don't know yet. She laughed through her tears. We sat that way until the soup cooled. Before she left, she washed the bowls. She used too much soap and left water across the counter, but I did not follow her with a towel. At the door, she picked up her purse, then hesitated. The welcome bags are next month, she said. I stared at her. I'm not asking you to do them. I was going to ask if Simone might want to come help us assemble them. Mom, Tessa, Carol, and the bridesmaids. Why Simone? Because she's your friend. And because she scares Mom. That is not a reason to invite someone. It is a little. I'll ask her. She can say no, of course. And I'm not assembling them. I know. She hugged me without touching the port. After she left, I found a note beneath the stock pot. It was written on the back of a hotel memo in Lacey's looping handwriting. Treatment Thursday. Call before. No wedding talk unless invited. I put it on the refrigerator beside the bakery box. The cake was still there, 1 week older and no easier to throw away. Lacey called Wednesday night at 8:16. I had been expecting her call all day, which meant I answered with the forced casualness of someone pretending not to stand beside a ringing phone. Hey, is now okay? Yes. Tomorrow is treatment. Yes. How do you feel about it? Unenthusiastic. Anything more specific? My fingers still tingle. I'm tired. I've developed a personal hatred for saline. Why saline? It tastes like pool water when they flush my port. That makes no sense. Welcome to medicine. She paused. I could almost hear her reviewing the note she had left beneath the soup pot. Do you need anything? She asked. Not tomorrow. Okay. Another pause. Is Evan still watching the cheese documentary? I asked. Relief loosened her voice. There are apparently 6 episodes. How can there be 6 episodes about competitive cheese? There are regional qualifiers. We talked for 12 minutes. She did not mention the wedding. The next week she called again. That time she made it 9 minutes before saying, "This is not wedding talk, but hypothetically, do you know how many ounces are in the mini bags of coffee? That is wedding talk wearing a fake mustache. I'm sorry." I looked at the tingling fingers of my left hand. 2 ounces, I said. Now stop. Stopping. We were not healed. We were learning to touch the bruise without immediately pressing down. Mom's changes were smaller. She began knocking and waiting when she brought food. She asked whether I wanted her inside. The first time I said no, she stood on the porch holding a casserole dish as though I had denied her entry to her own trial. "All right," she said. Then she handed me the dish and left. It was over-salted and large enough to feed 8 people. I ate it for 3 nights. The cake stayed in my refrigerator until a blue-green spot appeared near one corner of the raspberry filling. I carried the box to the trash on collection morning and stood there longer than a person should stand over spoiled dessert. I expected throwing it away to feel decisive. It felt like throwing away cake. By the day of the welcome bag assembly, my weekly treatments had settled into a rhythm. Dad drove every other Thursday. Simone took the rest. My fingernails darkened, my legs ached, and cold air made my fingertips sting, but I was no longer losing entire weekends to nausea. I had told Lacey I was not assembling bags. She invited me anyway. "Come sit," she said. "You can supervise emotionally. I've retired from supervision. Come eat cheese." "What kind?" "Non-competitive." I agreed to 1 hour. Simone came because Lacey asked her directly and because the possibility of frightening Mom appealed to her. When we entered my parents' dining room, every surface had disappeared beneath brown paper bags. Tissue, coffee packets, miniature jars of jam, maps of the city, and small bottles of bourbon. Tessa was tying green ribbons around welcome cards. Carol stood at the buffet table, grouping items into perfect rows. Mom moved between them with a clipboard. Lacey came out of the kitchen carrying 2 bottles of wine. "Mara!" Everyone looked up. The attention made me self-conscious in a way it had not before treatment. I touched the edge of my wig. Carol crossed the room first. "How are you feeling?" she asked. Behind her, Lacey watched my face. "I'm doing okay. Do you need the room warmer?" "No, thank you. Food?" "Eventually." "Wine?" "Unfortunately, no." Carol patted my arm and moved aside. Mom approached with the clipboard. "We have a problem with the labels." My body responded before my mind did. I reached for the clipboard. Mom pulled it back. "I'm asking Lacey," she said. Lacey blinked. "You are?" "The printer. Cut them off center. Then call the printer. They're closed. Can we use them anyway? They look terrible." Lacey examined one. The border was slightly thicker on the left. "They look fine." "They do not." "Mom, we have 106 bags to assemble." 108, I said automatically. Everyone turned toward me. I lifted both hands. I have no idea why I said that. Evan appeared from the hallway carrying 2 empty boxes. "It's 108. Mom looked betrayed by genetics. "Fine," she said. "The crooked labels go on the back. No one asked me to fix them." I sat beside Simone and drank ginger ale while the room struggled forward without my management. The first bags contained 2 maps. The next 4 had no coffee. Mom tied a ribbon around her own wrist. Tessa dropped a jar of jam, which rolled under the buffet but did not break. It was inefficient. It was also not my problem. After 20 minutes, Lacey brought me a plate of crackers and cheese, without asking whether I had checked the guest counts. "Thank you." Your eyes are twitching, she said. The bags are inconsistent. Look away, I can't. She turned my chair toward the fireplace. Better? Emotionally violent, but effective. At the end of my hour, Simone and I stood to leave. Mom looked surprised. You're going already? 1 hour, I said, but we've barely started. Lacey answered before I could. She said 1 hour. Mom's mouth tightened, then relaxed through visible effort. Of course, she said. Thank you for coming. I had not assembled a single bag. The thanks followed me all the way to the front door. In the car, Simone looked over at me. You realize your mother nearly tore a ligament not asking you to redo those labels? I saw. Personal growth is hideous. It usually is. The dress fitting took place 3 weeks later at a bridal boutique, 40 minutes away. By then, the city had put up holiday lights, and the bare trees along the highway were wrapped in white strands that came on before dark. Lacey had chosen deep green bridesmaid dresses in different styles. Mine was a soft wrap dress with long sleeves and a V-neck, selected partly because I was always cold and partly because Lacey said green made my eyes look less tired. The boutique smelled like vanilla candles and new fabric. Mirrors covered nearly every wall. Diane, back to being mom in my head whenever she frightened me less, sat on a velvet sofa beside Tessa and 2 bridesmaids from Lacey's office, Naomi and Priya. Carol arrived with coffee for everyone and handed me peppermint tea without comment. I went into the fitting room with a seamstress named Yvonne. The dress fit better than I expected. The fabric skimmed instead of clinging, and the waist tied high enough that I did not feel swallowed. When Yvonne zipped the side, I looked in the mirror and saw a recognizable woman. Not the old me, not exactly, but someone I could become accustomed to. The neckline sat lower than I remembered. The edge of my port was visible on the right side of my chest, along with the pale scar above it. I touched the scar. Too low? Yvonne asked. I don't know. We can add a small modesty panel. Let me ask my sister. I stepped out. Everyone made the appropriate sounds. Carol said the color was beautiful. Tessa told me I had a waist, which she considered important news. Mom pressed both hands together beneath her chin. Lacey came close and adjusted the wrap. You look gorgeous, she said. I like it. The happiness in her face made me happy, too. That was the irritating resilience of love. It returned before Trust had finished rebuilding the furniture. Then Lacey noticed the port. Her fingers stopped. Oh, what? She tilted her head. You can see it. I know. Mom leaned forward. See what? My port. The word changed the room. Naomi examined a rack of shawls. Priya took a long drink of coffee. Lacey touched the edge of the neckline. Can Yvonne add fabric? I could, Yvonne said. A matching inset here. I looked at myself in the mirror. The dress was elegant as it was. An inset would make it look higher and heavier. I don't think I want one. It would just cover this area, Lacey said. I understand where it would go. Or we could find a necklace. I don't usually wear necklaces. You could for the wedding. Tessa's face appeared in the mirror behind us, watchful. Do you think it looks bad? I asked. No, of course not. Then why cover it? Lacey lowered her voice. Because it draws the eye. To what? Mara. To the fact that I have cancer? No. To a medical device. In the photographs. I looked at her hand still holding the neckline. Let go of my dress. She released it. Mom stood. Nobody is saying you have to hide anything. Mom, you agreed about the necklace, Lacey said. I said pearls might look nice. Grandma's pearls would cover it perfectly. The pearls I had already loaned Lacey for the wedding. The pearls she was supposed to wear. You want me to wear your bridal jewelry to hide my port? Not all day, just maybe for the group photos. Carol set her coffee down. Lacey, she said, I'm asking a question. No, I said. Lacey's face hardened at the audience in my answer. I'm not trying to upset you. Then stop. It's one day. Yes, my wedding day. Yes, and I want the pictures to look a certain way. There was the truth, plain and graceless. I went back into the fitting room. Lacey followed me past the curtain. "What are you doing?" Taking off the dress. "I'm not finished talking." "I am." "Mara, please don't turn this into another thing." I faced her. She looked beautiful even under fluorescent lights. Her hair was glossy. Her cheeks were pink. She wore the expression she had used all our lives when asking me to absorb one small unfairness so everything else could remain pretty. I can't stand beside you as maid of honor while pretending the thing I'm surviving is an imperfection in your photographs. That isn't what I said. It's what you asked. I said we could cover the port, and I said no. Fine, then don't cover it. The surrender came instantly, carelessly. She expected that to settle it. I looked at the deep green dress, at the tiny pins Yvonne had placed near the hem, at my own hand holding the fabric closed over a body I had spent months allowing strangers to cut, scan, puncture, and medicate. No, I said. No what? No to being maid of honor. Her face went blank. You don't mean that. I do. Because of a necklace? Because even after everything, you still think my body is the problem when it makes your day less comfortable. I took it back. You always take it back after you find out I won't carry it. She stared at me. Beyond the curtain, no one spoke. I untied the dress. Lacey's eyes filled. You promised there was no wedding without you. No. You said that. I handed her the green fabric and stepped behind the fitting room door in my underwear. For once, my sister was the one left holding what she expected me to wear. I dressed slowly, aware of every sound beyond the door. A hanger scraped across a rack. Someone whispered. A paper cup lid snapped into place. Then Mom said, "Let me talk to her," in the tone she used before entering a room to restore its proper hierarchy. The curtain moved. "Don't," I said. Her hand disappeared. I put on my blouse, buttoning it over the port. My fingers were numb enough that the third button took 2 attempts. That small difficulty made me angrier than the argument had. When I stepped out, Lacey was sitting on the velvet sofa with the green dress across her lap. Her mascara had smudged beneath one eye. Naomi and Priya had retreated to the far end of the boutique, where they were studying veils with the concentration of museum conservators. Carol stood beside the coffee table. Mom came toward me. "Can we go somewhere private?" "No. Mara, your sister is upset." "So am I. Of course you are. Nobody meant—" "Please don't tell me what nobody meant." Her mouth closed. I turned to Yvonne. "I'm sorry. Do I owe anything for the fitting?" "No, ma'am. I paid the dress deposit. What happens to it? We can refund half if the dress hasn't been altered. Please do that." Lacey stood. "You don't need to return it. I'm not wearing it. You can wear it as a guest. A matching bridesmaid dress? We can still fix this. I'm not trying to frighten you into taking back the request. I already took it back." That isn't the same as understanding why it was wrong. Lacey looked around at the other women. Can everyone stop acting like I asked her to shave her head? My hand went instinctively to my wig. The moment she saw it, her whole face collapsed. "Oh, God, I didn't mean no," Carol said. She said it quietly, but every person in the boutique heard. Lacey turned toward her. Carol's expression was not angry. It was worse. It was disappointed with a calmness that suggested she had stopped being surprised. "You need to stop talking," she said. "This is between me and my sister. Then stop performing it for all of us." Lacey stared at her. Mom stepped in. "Carol, emotions are high." "They are," Carol said, "which is why Diane should take Lacey home." The use of Mom's first name landed like a glass placed firmly on a table. "I can take myself home," Lacey said. She handed the green dress to Yvonne and walked toward the fitting rooms, presumably to retrieve her clothes and whatever remained of her dignity. Tessa rose from the sofa. "I'll drive you," she told me. "I have my car. I'll drive your car. Simone can bring me back for mine. You haven't asked Simone. I'm willing to risk it." Mom touched my sleeve. "Please wait." I looked at her hand until she removed it. Your grandmother's pearls, she said. Do you want them back? The question hurt in a place I had not armored. No. Mara, they were loaned for the wedding. Lacey should wear them. Mom's eyes filled. She loves you. I know. Then don't do something permanent because she said something stupid. I'm stepping down from a role, not erasing her from my life. It won't feel that way to her. It didn't feel like a role to me either. The fitting room door opened behind us. Lacey emerged wearing her sweater and leggings. Her face was scrubbed clean except for mascara at the roots of her lashes. She heard the last sentence. Just go, she said. Mom turned. Lacey. No, she wants to go. Everyone wants her to go rest and protect herself from awful, selfish me. So let her. I picked up my purse. Tessa drove. For the first 10 minutes, she said nothing. She adjusted the seat, criticized my mirrors, and took the highway on-ramp too fast. You don't have to defend me, I said. I haven't said anything. To Carol, to whoever asks. I know. People already made the shower into a story. The shower was a story. I don't want the wedding to become one. Tessa glanced at me. Then what do you want? I looked out the window at the white lights wrapped around bare trees. I wanted to stand beside my sister. That's still what you want? Yes. Are you going to change your mind? No. She nodded. That sounds painful. It is. At home, I took off my wig and sat on the couch in my coat. The wooden angel watched from the mantel with unreasonable cheerfulness. At 6, Dad knocked. He carried no food, tools, or messages disguised as household objects. He came inside and sat in the armchair. Your mother called, he said. I assumed. She wants me to ask you to reconsider. Are you going to? No. I looked at him. He folded his hands. I think Lacey was wrong. The sentence sounded strange in Dad's voice. Not because he never thought Lacey was wrong, because he rarely said so while the consequences were still active. Mom told you what happened? 3 versions. Which one was accurate? The one where Lacey asked you to cover the port for pictures. I stared at the angel. She said a necklace. Yes. She wasn't asking me to remove it. I know. There are degrees of wrong. There are. I looked back at him. Why aren't you telling me to keep the peace? Because that didn't work. It worked for you for 30 years. He absorbed that without flinching. Yes, he said. The honesty left me with nowhere easy to place my anger. What happens now? He asked. I attend as a guest. Your mother thinks people will ask questions. People ask questions when the chicken is dry. He almost smiled. You'll still come? To the wedding? Yes. What about the rehearsal dinner? No. Getting ready? No. Photographs? I'll be in family photographs if they want me. With the port? With my body? He nodded. My phone rang on the coffee table. Evan. Dad stood. I'll go. You don't have to. I know. He squeezed my shoulder on the way out. I answered after the door closed. Hi, Evan. Hi. I'm sorry to call. It's okay. I just heard what happened. From Lacey? From my mother first? That explained the speed. I'm not asking you to change your mind, he said. Thank you. I'm not sure what I'm asking. In the background, a door closed. His voice became muffled, then clear again. Is Lacey there? I asked. She's in the bedroom. Have you talked to her? We're in the middle of it. I leaned my head against the couch. Don't fight because of me. We're not fighting because of you. Yes, you are. No. We're fighting because she thinks love means people should make her comfortable, and I've spent 4 years proving her right. His precision startled me. Evan. I let her avoid things. I fix them. You fix them. Diane fixes them. Then Lacey thinks the crisis ended because she was correct instead of because everyone else worked harder. He spoke without anger, which made each word feel considered. You love that about her too, I said. What? That she needs you. He went quiet. I know because I love it too, I added. A long breath moved through the phone. Maybe, he said. But I'm not marrying her so she can stay exactly the same. I thought of him changing the ring band because I said she would hate yellow gold. Him paying the venue invoice, taking over the vendors, clearing every path before she saw the obstacle. What did you say to her? I told her you're not ruining the wedding. I told her she's damaging our marriage before it starts if she keeps treating service as proof of love. That sounds severe. It felt severe. Is she okay? No. The answer came honestly. Are you? No. I closed my eyes. She does love you, I said. I know. She's scared. I know. She says the worst thing when she feels cornered. I know all of that, Mara. None of it makes the worst thing disappear. It was strange hearing my own argument from someone else. It sounded less cruel in his voice. I'm sorry, he said. You shouldn't be comforting me. Old habit. I'm going to let you go. Evan, yes? Don't threaten to cancel the wedding over this. I haven't. Good. But I also won't pretend it's only about a necklace. After we hung up, Lacey sent me no message. She did not call before my treatment that week. The absence felt deliberate, though I could not tell whether it was punishment, shame, or the first time she was carrying her own reaction without placing it in my hands. Mom tried twice to mediate. The first attempt came by text. Your sister understands now. Please don't make her beg. I replied, I'm not asking her to beg. The second came on the phone. She's barely eating, Mom said. Then bring her casserole. That isn't funny. I'm not trying to be funny. You know what I mean. She's devastated. I'm sad too, but you're so final when you decide something. I have to be. Otherwise, everyone waits for me to get tired and change my mind. Mom went quiet. I don't do that, she said. You brought me cake after I said no to groceries and waited for me to apologize. I brought the cake because you like lemon. Both things can be true. She sighed. I miss when you two were close. We were close because I made closeness easy. That isn't fair to Lacey. It isn't fair to either of us. The following Thursday, Dad drove me to treatment. He asked 6 questions and wrote down 4 answers. When I began shivering from the cold cap I had finally agreed to try, he put his jacket over my legs without making a comment about temperature. Near the end of the infusion, my phone lit up. Lacey. I stared at her name until Beth changed the IV bag. Then I answered. Hey, she said. Her voice was careful. Hey, I know I missed last week, I noticed. I didn't know what to say. You could ask how I am. How are you? My feet are numb. My nails hurt. Dad is wearing a t-shirt because I stole his jacket. Across from me, Dad turned a magazine page. I'm sorry, she said. For what part? All of it. The answer was too broad to trust and too tired to dismiss. I'm still not being maid of honor, I said. I know. I'm still coming to the wedding. I know. Do you want me there? Her breath caught. Of course I do. Then I'll be there. She cried quietly. I let her. After a minute, she said, Naomi is going to stand beside me. That makes sense. She's terrible with bobby pins. You'll survive. I hope so. She almost mentioned the pearls, stopped, and started again. I'm wearing Grandma's pearls. Good. I'll bring them back after. I know. We did not forgive each other completely. We did not solve the family or rename what had happened. But when the call ended, she had not asked me to carry anything. Wedding invitations arrived 2 weeks later. Mine was addressed to Ms. Mara Whitaker and guest. Inside, beneath the formal card, Lacey had tucked a handwritten note. Please come as my sister. Nothing else required. I put the invitation on my refrigerator. The handwritten note stayed there through the rest of treatment, held beneath a magnet shaped like a lobster. Please come as my sister. Nothing else required. Some days it read like an apology. Other days it felt like revised job terms. I accepted with Simone as my guest and checked the box for ceremony only. Mom called within an hour. You're not staying for dinner? No. But the meal is already paid for. The RSVP deadline is 3 weeks away. I mean emotionally paid for. That isn't a thing. People will notice you leave. People noticed when I didn't attend the shower. They survived. She exhaled into the phone. I'm trying. I know. Are you? Yes. That answer softened both of us. I explained that my last scheduled paclitaxel infusion would be 11 days before the wedding. Dr. Shaw expected the fatigue and neuropathy to continue. A ceremony was manageable. 6 hours of cocktails, photographs, dinner, dancing, and questions about my health was not. Mom listened. Then she said, "All right, no counteroffer. No calculation of what I might manage if I rested in the bridal suite between obligations. Just all right." I bought a dark blue dress with a narrow waist and a neckline that did not hide my port. I did not choose it as a statement. At least, that was what I told myself while turning side to side beneath the dressing room lights. The port scar was visible. So was the woman wearing it. I bought silver earrings, low heels, and a soft wrap in case I got cold. Simone insisted on going with me and rejected 4 dresses for looking too much like forgiveness. "What does forgiveness look like?" I asked. "Chiffon." That is not an answer. Chiffon knows what it did. My last infusion passed without ceremony. The clinic kept a brass bell near the nurse's station for patients finishing treatment, but I did not ring it. I understood why people did. I simply could not make myself declare victory while the port remained in my chest and scans waited in the future. Finishing one phase felt less like crossing a finish line than being released from a room without knowing what was outside. Dad had brought a bell-shaped cookie from a bakery. "This is less public," he said. I ate half in the truck. Lacey called that evening. "Did you ring the bell?" "No." "Why not?" "I don't know." "Do you want me to come over and ring something?" "Absolutely not. I could ring your doorbell once and leave. That's basically what Mom does." She laughed. Our conversations had become cautious, but real. She still complained about the wedding. I still sometimes solved things she had not asked me to solve. The difference was that I caught myself. When she told me the seating chart had placed 2 hostile ants together, I said, "That sounds stressful." Then I stopped. The silence that followed was enormous. "You know how to fix it," she said. "Yes. Are you going to tell me?" "No." She groaned. The next day, she texted that she had switched 1 ant with Evan's former supervisor. "See? I did it," she wrote. I sent her a gold star emoji. On the wedding morning, I woke at 6:14 with no alarm and the immediate certainty that I had forgotten something. For several seconds, I lay still, inventorying invisible duties. Bouquets, breakfast, veil, rings, garment bags, emergency sewing kit, grandmother's pearls, vendor tips, marriage license. None of them belonged to me. My only responsibilities were to shower, put on a dress, and arrive by 3:30. I made coffee. It still tasted wrong, but less wrong than the month before. A thin crescent of nail on my right thumb had begun lifting from the bed, so I covered it with a bandage. My feet tingled against the kitchen tile. At 7:12, the family group chat began lighting up. "Mom, does anyone have the steamer?" "Naomi, in bridal suite closet." "Mom, not the small one, the good one." Tessa, define moral quality in a steamer. Lacey, "Mom, please use the small one." I muted the conversation. At 8, Simone arrived carrying a garment bag, 2 coffees, and a breakfast sandwich she had cut into quarters because she no longer trusted me to eat without supervision. "We have 7 hours, I said. "I know." "Why are you here?" "Because if I stayed home, I'd text you every 15 minutes asking whether you were spiraling." "I'm not spiraling. You're wearing 1 earring." I touched my left ear. The other earring sat beside the kitchen sink. I had put it down while washing my hands and forgotten it. "That's fashion," I said. "We spent the morning doing almost nothing." Simone painted my nails a dark plum to disguise the discoloration. We watched half of a movie. At 11, I fell asleep on the couch with a satin pillowcase beneath my head so my wig would not shift. My phone rang once at 12:27. Mom's name appeared. The call ended before I answered. I waited for it to ring again. It did not. I checked the group chat despite myself. There were 34 new messages. I scrolled quickly enough to catch words without context. "Breakfast wrong room. No trays 20 minutes. Mom. I'm calling Mara." Then Lacey. "No. Mom. She may know what to do. Lacey, she is not working today. Tessa, I can walk to the cafe. Lacey, nobody is walking anywhere. I'm ordering from the diner. Mom, it will be late. Lacey, then breakfast will be late. The next messages were about egg sandwiches and fruit cups. I read the exchange twice. Something loosened inside me so quietly that I did not recognize it as relief until Simone spoke. What happened? I handed her the phone. She read the messages. Your sister used a complete sentence and everything. The breakfast order is wrong. I gathered. The bridal suite has coffee but no food. Civilization hangs by a thread. Mom tried to call me, and Lacey stopped her. I took back the phone. The single missed call no longer felt like an alarm. It was evidence of an interrupted reflex. At 1:13, Lacey texted me directly. Breakfast arrived. No action needed. Please continue being off duty, I wrote. Proud of you. She responded. I hate growth. At 3, Simone zipped my dress. The blue fabric lay smoothly over my body. My wig was shoulder length and darker than my natural hair had been. My face still looked puffy, and my eyebrows were sisters rather than twins. But the woman in the mirror no longer seemed borrowed. Simone fastened the silver earrings. You look like yourself, she said. Which version? The expensive one. The ceremony was held in the glass conservatory behind a hotel north of the city. Bare vines curled along white-painted beams, and hundreds of small lights glowed above rows of wooden chairs. Outside, patches of old snow clung to the hedges. Inside, the air smelled like eucalyptus and roses. Guests turned when we entered. Some looked at my face first, then my chest, then quickly back at my face. Others hugged me too carefully. Carol's sister held both my hands and said, You're so brave, before introducing herself. I smiled until my jaw hurt. Tessa rescued us near the guest book table. Come with me, she said. There's a side room with water and no inspiration. She led us into a small lounge off the conservatory. A tray of champagne waited on a table. Simone looked at the bottles. Did Mara buy this? Tessa pressed one hand to her chest. We honor the fallen. I laughed hard enough that 2 guests looked through the open doorway. Tessa handed me water. You saw the breakfast messages? She asked. Yes. Your mother had your number open. She called once. Lacey took the phone out of her hand. Literally? Like a teenager confiscating a dangerous object. What did Mom do? Said she was only calling to ask where you thought they should order. That still counts as calling me. I know. Lacey knew too. Tessa leaned one shoulder against the wall. She ordered $80 worth of diner breakfast, accepted that it came in plastic containers, and ate scrambled eggs with a serving spoon because they forgot forks. I pictured Lacey in her silk robe, holding an oversized spoon while Mom searched for better utensils. Was she upset? She said 3 profanities and moved on. That's practically enlightenment. Personal growth remains hideous. Music began in the conservatory. Guests moved toward their seats. Dad appeared in the doorway wearing a charcoal suit and a green tie. He stared at me. What? I asked. You look beautiful. The directness caught me off guard. Thank you. He kissed my forehead. You're sitting in the second row with Simone. Your mother saved the aisle seats. I don't need an aisle. She thought you might want to leave quickly. That was so unexpectedly thoughtful that I looked away. Is Mom okay? I asked. She has corrected the florist twice and me 7 times. She's excellent. He offered me his arm, then seemed embarrassed by the gesture. I took it. We had reached the conservatory entrance when Naomi hurried toward us in her green bridesmaid dress. Her hair was pinned into an elaborate twist that appeared structurally sound despite Lacey's doubts. Mara, can you come with me? Dad's arm tightened. What does she need? He asked. Naomi looked between us. She just wants to see Mara. I could say no. That knowledge mattered almost as much as the choice. I'll go, I said. Dad returned to the ceremony. Simone stayed near the doorway while Naomi led me down a carpeted hall to the bridal suite. Breakfast containers covered one corner table. Someone had placed plastic forks beside them after all. Makeup, curling irons, tissue paper, and half-empty coffee cups occupied every other surface. Mom stood near the window in a deep rose dress. When she saw me, her face crumpled for 1 second before she repaired it. "You came," she said. "I said I would. I know." She hugged me gently. Over her shoulder, I saw Lacey. She stood in front of a full-length mirror wearing an ivory gown with a fitted bodice and a skirt that fell in clean, soft folds. Grandma's pearls rested at her throat. Her veil was pinned beneath a smooth knot of hair. For once, she was not moving. Mom stepped away. "I'll give you 2 a minute." Naomi followed her out. Simone waited in the hall, visible through the open door. Lacey and I looked at each other in the mirror. "You look beautiful," I said. "So do you. I like your hair." Naomi had outside help. I won't tell. She turned. Her eyes moved to my port. I felt them go there. Then she looked back at my face. "The blue is better than the green," she said. "Don't let the bridal party hear you. I'm serious. You look like you." The room seemed too warm. I adjusted my wrap over one arm. "You stopped Mom from calling. She almost got you." "She did, briefly. I'm sorry. You handled it." The diner forgot forks. I heard. I considered canceling the marriage. Because of forks? It felt proportional at the time. I smiled. Lacey did not. Her fingers moved over Grandma's pearls. "I'm sorry," she said. "There was no rush in it this time. No because. No request waiting behind it." "For the breakfast?" I asked. "For thinking every problem was yours if I didn't want it?" I waited. She swallowed. "For the shower. For the groceries. For asking you to hide the port. For making your cancer about what people would think of me." My throat tightened. "I was scared," she continued. "But I used being scared like permission." Someone tapped softly on the outer door. Mom called. 2 minutes. Lacey looked toward the sound, then back at me. "I don't expect you to forgive me today." "Good." A small, wet laugh escaped her. "I hope you mean it after the wedding, too," I said. "What?" "The apology. I hope it still matters when there isn't a dress on and everyone stops watching." Her eyes filled. "It will. I need it to be more than something you understood when the consequences embarrassed you." I know. I believed she knew in that moment. I did not yet know whether moments could become character. I stepped closer and straightened Grandma's pearls. The clasp had rotated toward the front. "They look good on you," I said. "They're yours. Today they're yours." She covered my hand with hers. The music changed outside. Mom opened the door and looked between us. She did not ask what had been said. "It's time," she whispered. I returned to the conservatory and sat beside Simone in the second row. Dad stood near the entrance. Mom took her place in the front. The bridesmaids walked in, Naomi first. Then the doors opened again. Lacey appeared on Dad's arm, wearing our grandmother's pearls and looking directly at Evan. Halfway down the aisle, her eyes found mine. She did not look at my scar. She smiled at her sister. The ceremony was shorter than the list of things that had gone wrong that morning. Evan forgot which hand to take during the vows. Lacey laughed and gave him the left one. The officiant called Mom Diana, which made Dad's shoulders shake in the front row. One of the glass conservatory doors blew open during the exchange of rings and sent a cold draft through the room. Nobody stopped the wedding. Lacey promised to love Evan with honesty, patience, and enough humility to admit when she was wrong. Her voice caught on humility. Evan smiled at her, not rescuing the word, simply waiting until she finished it. When they kissed, everyone stood. I stood more slowly than the rest, one hand on Simone's arm. My feet had gone numb during the ceremony. Pins and needles climbed from my toes to my ankles, but I stayed upright through the applause. For that moment, I was happy without reservation. That surprised me. I had expected every good feeling to arrive contaminated by the shower, the fitting, or the months of being asked to disappear in ways that looked helpful. Instead, My sister was married. She looked at Evan as though he had just performed a miracle by remaining where he promised to be. Love was irritating that way. It refused to become simple just because simple would make judgment easier. After the recessional, Mom found me near the lounge. "Family photographs are in 10 minutes, she said. "Do you still want to?" "Yes." "All right." She did not finish the question for me. The photographer arranged us beneath an arch of eucalyptus and white roses. Dad stood beside Mom. Lacey and Evan occupied the center. I took my place on Lacey's other side. The photographer studied the group. "Mara, can you angle slightly toward your sister?" I turned. My neckline shifted, making the port more visible. Lacey noticed. I felt the tiny paws beside me. Then she slipped her hand into mine. "Perfect," the photographer said. The flash went off. We took 6 photographs. In one, Dad blinked. In another, Mom turned toward Lacey at the wrong moment. Tessa later told me the best picture was the first, before everyone arranged their expressions. My scar showed clearly. No one covered it. By 5:30, the conservatory had been transformed for cocktails. Servers moved through the room carrying champagne and tiny pastries balanced on silver trays. A string quartet played near the windows. Simone brought me my wrap. "Ready?" I looked across the room. Lacey was surrounded by bridesmaids and relatives. Evan stood beside her, one hand at the small of her back. Mom was explaining something to the catering manager, but she used both hands instead of a clipboard. Dad had found the appetizer table. It would have been easy to stay. That was the danger of boundaries after the crisis passed. Once everyone behaved for 20 minutes, the line could begin to seem unnecessary. I could sit through dinner. I could leave before dancing. I could ignore the ache in my legs and the heavy fog gathering behind my eyes. I could prove I was fine. "I'm ready," I said. We made it to the coat check area before Mom caught us. "You're leaving now?" "Yes. The soup course is in 15 minutes. "I know. Could you sit for the soup?" I looked at her. She closed her eyes briefly. "Never mind," she said. "That was automatic. Very automatic. I'm working on it." "I know." She hugged me. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for saving an aisle seat. In case you needed to leave, I know." There was grief in her face, but she did not hand it to me. Dad appeared with my coat over one arm. "I brought the truck," he said. "I can take you. Simone's driving." "Right." He helped me into the coat anyway. Lacey reached us just before we went outside. She was still holding her champagne glass. Grandma's pearls glowed against her throat. "You're going? I told you I was." "I know." She looked toward the reception room where someone was calling her name. "I'm glad you came." "Me too." She hugged me carefully. Her veil brushed my cheek. "I'll return the pearls after the honeymoon. There's no rush. I said I would. I know." That mattered more than the pearls. Outside, snow had begun falling in small, dry flakes. Simone drove while I leaned my head against the passenger window and watched the hotel lights disappear behind us. "Regrets?" she asked. "That I didn't steal a pastry." She opened the center console. Inside was a napkin wrapped around 4 miniature lemon tarts. I looked at her. "You were socializing. You robbed the dessert table." I planned ahead. At home, we ate the tarts on my couch while I wore formal earrings, sweatpants, and no wig. The lemon was too sharp against the sores in my mouth. I finished mine anyway. Lacey returned the pearls 9 days later. She came alone and brought them in the original blue velvet box. She also brought 2 coffees, one decaf because she remembered caffeine still tasted wrong to me. We sat at the kitchen table. "How was the honeymoon?" I asked. "Beautiful. Evan got food poisoning." "Romantic." "He spent 24 hours apologizing to the hotel bathroom. Did you comfort him?" I held a cold washcloth against his neck and did not ask him to call a vendor. "That's marriage." She smiled, then pushed the velvet box toward me. I opened it. The pearls lay in a neat curve. For years, I had remembered Grandma wearing them at holiday dinners, touching them when she laughed. Lending them to Lacey had felt like lending her a piece of the family's idea of womanhood. graceful, polished, reliable. I closed the box. Thank you. Carol sent us the wedding photos. That was fast. She paid for rush editing. Of course she did. Lacey took out her phone and showed me the first family photograph. The port was visible, so was her hand holding mine. I like this one, she said. You look happy. So do you. I enlarged the photograph. I looked tired. You were tired. She did not tell me I looked brave. I appreciated that. We had our first married fight, she said. Food poisoning related? No, breakfast related. I raised an eyebrow. The hotel charged us twice, and I wanted Evan to deal with it because he booked the room. Did he? No. He said I could call. Cruel. I told him he was being ridiculous. Then I heard myself. What did you do? I called the front desk. And? They removed the charge. Look at you. She rolled her eyes, but she smiled. Then her expression changed. I'm not fixed, Mara. I didn't think you were. I still get mad that you stepped down. I know. I still think about how the pictures would have looked with you standing beside me. I closed the velvet box more firmly. But, she continued, I know why you didn't. Those aren't the same thing. No, it was the most adult conversation we had ever had. Not because we agreed, but because neither of us tried to make agreement the price of staying. Mom's progress was less direct. She began asking, do you have capacity? After Tessa taught her the phrase. Mom pronounced it like a business term she distrusted. Sometimes, when I said no, she accepted it. Sometimes she asked why. Once she said, I wish I could ask my own daughter for a favor without feeling like a criminal. I answered, you can ask. I can answer. She did not speak to me for 2 days. On the third day, she called to discuss a television program and did not mention the argument. That counted as growth in our family. Dad continued driving me to appointments after the weekly infusions ended. He no longer brought the legal pad, but he kept notes on receipts. His wallet accumulated medication names, dates, and questions in his block handwriting. At one follow-up, Dr. Shaw asked if I felt safe and supported at home. Dad answered, we're improving. She looked at me. He's not wrong, I said. The scans came after months of waiting, treatment, and trying not to interpret every ache as prophecy. Simone drove me to the imaging center. Dad wanted to come, but I told him I could not manage both his silence and Simone's questions in the same waiting room. He accepted that. The technician did not tell me anything. They never did. Dr. Shaw called the next afternoon while I was at my desk pretending to work. I had spent 3 hours moving numbers between cells without absorbing any of them. The imaging shows no evidence of disease, she said. For a moment, I could not understand the sentence. No evidence. Nothing visible on the scans. Does that mean it's gone? It means today's scans show no evidence of disease. We'll continue monitoring. Today's scans. The words were careful, and I love them for not pretending certainty existed where it did not. After we hung up, I stood beside my desk. I expected to cry. Instead, I opened my wallet and found the folded pink sticky note from the wedding binder. Mara will handle. The ink had transferred faintly where the paper folded. I threw it in the trash. Then I took it back out because I was still me and apparently needed to dispose of emotional artifacts correctly. I tore it into 4 pieces first. I called Simone. She screamed loudly enough that I held the phone away from my ear. Dad cried without making a sound. Mom said, I knew it, which was not true but was allowed for 10 seconds. Lacey asked, can I come over? Not tonight. Okay. I want to sit with it. Okay. She did not come. The family immediately wanted a celebration. Mom suggested Sunday dinner at their house. Lacey suggested brunch. Dad suggested steak because he believed red meat was the proper response to all major events. I said no to all 3. I want dinner next Friday at Bellini's, I told them. 7 o'clock. I'm making the reservation. Bellini's was a small Italian restaurant near my house with dark wood booths, soft lighting, and lemon cake I had loved before treatment changed my taste. Who are we inviting? Mom asked. You, Dad, Lacey, Evan, Simone, and Tessa. What about Aunt Sheila? No, she'll hear about it. She hears about weather before it happens. Mom sighed. What can I bring? Nothing. Wine? No. Flowers? If you want to give me flowers, yes. But dinner doesn't need you to supply anything. She was quiet. All right, she said. On Friday, Lacey arrived at my house 40 minutes early. I had just returned from the grocery store with milk, coffee, bread, fruit, and a case of sparkling water. The lime flavor was on sale. She opened my trunk while I stood beside it. You bought the wrong water, she said. I like lime. Nobody likes lime. I do. She lifted the case with both hands. You don't have to carry that, I said. I know. She took it inside anyway, then came back for the grocery bags. She did not announce what she was doing. She did not wait for praise. She put the milk in the refrigerator, the bread beside the toaster, and the fruit in the bowl. Anything else? She asked. No. That's all. At Bellini's, Mom brought flowers, but no casserole. Dad ordered steak at an Italian restaurant. Tessa told the server we were celebrating good scans, and Simone corrected her to excellent scans. Nobody made a speech. Near the end of dinner, 7 plates were cleared, and 1 lemon cake appeared with a single white candle in the center. Mom looked nervous. I asked first, she said. Lacey said lemon was still your favorite. It is. The server set the cake in front of me. My family waited. I blew out the candle, cut the first slice, and took a bite. For the first time in months, it tasted exactly like lemon.